We got sawdust everywhere, right?
Oh, wow.
We're just hacking. Me and Bruno are hacking away, eating pepperoni, hacking the you know, we're doing all of our shit, right? We're hooking it up, right?
What are you snapping into a Slim Jim back then?
Exactly. The big stuff,
The big dogs, yeah.
Bruno is a real Italian.
Okay.
Well, he's half French,
got
half
the good
Italian,
sh-
but
you
he's
got
a
the
real
good stuff.
Italian. Exactly.
All right. We are back, huh? We're back at the 9 Club, everybody. Today, we have a very special guest. Mr. Rodney Smith is with us. How are you, dude?
I'm very good, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming all the way from New York just to do the 9 Club.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
No, but seriously, thank you for coming, dude. This is an honor. It's a privilege. Every time your name gets brought up on this show, it is with the best words, and everybody loves you. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
stoked to finally meet you and hear your side of the story, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I love people. I love everyone. I love humanity. And these guys that give me shout outs, I really appreciate that love because I know it comes from their hearts, you know. I know it comes from a good place and never take it personally. I love popping fun at myself, so. You know.
I think a lot of the people, though, you've helped a lot of people.
No doubt.
A lot of
know,
OG.
a lot of
Mike,
all day.
yeah.
Mike Vallely speaks highly of you, Chris. Pastress Dune, among other people, for sure. But you were even in the same area as Mike Vallely, right? You grew up in New Jersey?
Very interesting place where I grew up. I grew up in a hub town in the early 1900s.
Okay. At least it was in the 1800s. We made it over the hump.
It was a very popular location. It had 2 grocery stores at the edge of the town. The town, you could literally get on a skateboard or a bicycle and get from one end of the town to the other in about 2 minutes.
Wow.
Whoa.
If you rode fast. That's how small the town was.
Dodging the horse and buggies.
Dodging a horse and buggies. Yeah.
It's a small town.
Very small town. And where Mike lived, it surrounded the whole entire town that I lived in.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. So the town that I grew up in was where my father grew up. My grandfather was rescued from Culpeper, Virginia. And he was a badass, drinking at the age of 10, having shootouts with the Klan.
Wow.
Down there. They had one of the Civil Wars was fought there. During the Civil Wars, there was multiple fights that went on in different places. People think it was just one fight, you know. Charge! No, that's not how it works.
In New Jersey.
No, this is in Virginia.
Oh, Virginia,
where my
excuse
grandfather
me.
was. So my grandfather came up here, was introduced to my grandmother, Hazel Smith, and they had 8 children. And my dad was the oldest. And he grew up in a town that was very mixed. Quite a few colors, not much Asian, not much Middle Eastern, but, you know, a lot of Jewish and, you know, very few blacks. But my father's side of the family was one of the Baptist churches in the town. So he was loved by everyone, and he was a upstanding guy. But he had a lot of he had a lot of things to get past. He was one of the poorest. His family was one of the poorest families in the town. Literally, my grandfather was pulled from Culpeper, Virginia, up to New Jersey, was given a job, and then introduced to my grandmother. And then his uncle, who pulled him from Culpeper, Virginia, gave him $8,000. You can pay me back later, but find yourself somewhere to live. And my grandfather bought this little property next to the railroad tracks. So you know when people say on the other side of the tracks? Well, the tracks are over there, right at that wall.
Where Kelly said,
First set
yeah,
of tracks, 5 sets of tracks, commuter trains and freighters going by at all times, right? Very strange upbringing for children to live that close to the trains, you know? A stone throw away.
Right.
So my dad was one of 2 twins. My grandmother had 2 sets of twins. It was my dad and his brother, and 2 of my dad's sisters. They were also twins, not identical, but so my dad's brother died when he was 3 years old. He died in a cesspool accident. They were playing. They went to visit some friends or something somewhere. and they were running around and no adults were watching them, and he fell in a cesspool and he died. So that was my dad's first round of trauma. Wow. Right?
Damn.
So when he met my mom pretty much had her act all together. My mom was one of 13 kids. My grandmother had 13 children by the same man.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty wild back then, but
Full household.
very full.
Insane.
And my mom was the favorite. She had the extra good looks. She had like a Tina Turner thing going on when she was younger, you know. And my grandfather was very protective of her and not really the other kids. He didn't really give a shit. Most of them were boys. There were only 3 girls, and the rest were boys. You know?
Boys can take care of themselves.
True, true. Yeah. So my parents met. My mom brought my dad to his senses. You know, you're not your past. You're not where you grew up. My dad lived in what is called a railroad house, and the railroad house was where, when the freighters would come through and they would stop, there was a signal about 40 feet from where I lived on the track line. And the freighter guys would switch, like the caboose rider and the engineers would switch, and then the guys would drive their cars there and park, and then get on the train and take it, 100, whatever, 1,000 miles away, however far they were going. And so my grandfather bought this house, and the house was dilapidated, and it started falling apart even more. And my grandfather was an alcoholic. So my grandmother was depressed. Grandfather was depressed. Father was depressed. Father was the oldest, taking care of his brothers and sisters. Grandmother kept having kids. Grandfather wasn't the grandfather of the kids, all of them, potentially. My dad dealt with a lot. My mom rescued him and saved him from his own, desperation to have a better life. We're going to do this. You don't have to stay with your mom. Don't listen to her. You're 19 years old. You can do what you want. They got together young.
That was his wife. Too soon to be future wife.
Future wife.
Yeah.
They got married probably a year later.
Oh, wow.
They started dating, yeah. They knew. It was one of those situations where you knew the person that you were matched with was the one.
In all seriousness, we said 1900s, but like what year was this around? Because like I want to know like when you came into the picture too, because you started skating also in like the early 70s.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's so interesting.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
When was this?
So my parents got together. My parents got together in the early 60s. I think the late 50s, early 60s. My sister and brother are 5 and 6 years older than me. And so my parents got together then. I had the opportunity to grow up in the same town that my father grew up in. That's the town called Metuchen, which the town that Mike Vallely grew up in is surrounded Metuchen. And there were 4 sets of tracks that ran through there, and we had the biggest post office. That's why it was so popular. People were coming from all over to get
like
jobs there. Exactly. The hubs were where people could get work. So there were factories on the outskirts. There were still woodsy areas. There were trails next to the tracks that ran through 4 different sides of the town that I grew up in. And I think 1 or 2 ran through where Mike was. But
so you weren't too far after this that we're speaking of.
Yeah. So So moving forward, here I am in Metuchen, New Jersey. Best parents in the world. Worked their asses off. 3 jobs each at one time. Saved all their money. My dad built his own house. Worked for a lumber company. Had all the friends that were plumbers and electricians and people who did siding and all sorts of stuff. So
this is the house you grew up in?
This is the house I grew up in. $40,000 they built this house.
Wow.
It was a $120,000 house at the time, for supplies.
Yeah.
And he got the property for free from his father.
Wow.
And the deal was you build a house and I'll let you live in the basement. So my grandfather lived on the lower floor. We didn't have a basement, but it was a lower floor, 2-floor house.
Amazing.
And so that worked out really good for everyone.
Yeah.
But where I was located, I had access to all of the standards. You have the baseball fields, and you got the football, and you got the basketball, and you have the little private organizations that you can get ready before you're in middle school or high school to play sports. And I was the kid who appeased the parents to no end because I watched my dad with his life growing up. And I remember going in my grandparents' house being like, what is this? And I'm like 3 or 4 years old. I'm like, this doesn't look like where my parents lived. They were renting a place when they got together and then got married. I'm like, it's gnarly. This is literally like broken windows. This is like if when you go to the South and people can actually live in a house that has broken windows. But this is like wintertime rolling in. No insulation, rotted out floors in the house. 1 bedroom and then the main room and then a back room that had like a makeshift kitchen. And it was just for railroad workers. They would go there and they do their thing and then leave. They only stay there one night. So it was
But
like
they lived there.
My grandparents lived there, yeah. And my dad lived there with his brothers and sisters. So my dad got the property, built a house. I had all the opportunities that I could ever have asked for, but didn't know it. I appeased my folks. I played the sports to appease my dad. My household was boxing, football, basketball, and baseball. So
And soon to be skateboarding.
soon to be skateboarding. yeah. Talk about some turn heads.
Well, I want to talk about that because, I mean, you started at like 8 years old, right?
Yeah, well, I got my first glimpse of a skateboard at my friend Joey Rubeck's house. He lived a block away. And we're in his basement one day, and I'm probably like 7, and I'm looking over. I'm like, hey, Joey, what's that? He's like, oh, no, I don't want to do anything with that. I'm like, come on, man, let's just take this thing and just go outside. He's like, no. And it's an old board. It's got roller skate wheels on it, and it's a skateboard made by some company.
Metal wheels.
Metal wheels.
Yep.
Loose ball bearings, metal wheels, roller skating trucks, right? 3 cotter pins holding the trucks together to the board, to the deck, and it's like some solid wood, flat, right?
Flat, right.
It's garbage.
Like
but
an arrow almost, probably. A little small, probably.
Very small. It's like 6 inches wide,
Yeah.
So he says he doesn't want to do anything with it. So I kick it with my foot, and it rolls over, and it makes some weird sound. And I'm like, man, what is this thing? So we go outside, we leave. A year comes around, and I'm coming home from school. So we had 2 ways to get to my house, from the backyard and the front yard. So it was one street there, one street there. So I would come for the back, and we had a shed in the back corner. And one day I'm walking home from school, and I see something red in the shed. I'm like, what the hell's red in the shed? There's nothing red in the shed. What is it? So I'm like,
Poet and they don't know it.
You guys are funny, man. So I walk over to the shed, and I reach in, and I'm like, pull it out. It's a plastic skateboard. It's called an X19. It had white wheels. It was a red board, and the trucks were the base plate was part of the deck, where the hanger went into the base plate that was connected.
We're
to the
talking about
board.
this right here.
There you go. That's pretty much the one. So I knew people that had that one. That's the GX, right?
Right in the shed.
I had one.
Red in the shed.
Yeah. Yeah. There it is. That's pretty much it.
Look at that, the ruler there. It's about 20 inches long. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Very interesting. So
Go ahead.
I see it, and I'm like, whose is this?
Yeah.
So I go in the house. The next day, I walk past the shed again on the way home from school, which was like 2 blocks away. My brother was school. He was in junior high, so he was about 6 blocks away. Right.
By the way, they're selling this for like $36.
You can relive it.
We could relive it if you want.
I have friends that pass theirs over. They have a bunch of plastic ones. Yeah. Probably a grocery store or hardware store, wherever it came from. Who knows?
So let me get this straight. Was this your shed that you found this in?
Yeah,
or
this is in my shed. So I'm
Okay.
like, where did this come from?
Weird.
So I don't dare ask my brother, but I'm going to pull it out of the shed tomorrow. So I get her from school. I'm in the backyard. I reach in and I pull the board out, and I tiptoe over to the street, and I put it down, and I kind of kick it a little bit to see what it does, because it's the first time ever doing anything with a skateboard, and this is a toy.
Never even seen.
Nothing. I saw one board in Joey. It was more advanced than that board, kind of, but this one had urethane wheels. So I was like, I don't know what urethane is.
This is 72, 73?
Yeah, no, this is 74.
Okay,
right?
still.
So I'm out on the street. I step on it, and I kind of jump off, and I keep myself from slamming, right? I don't even know what falling on a skateboard is all about. So I try it again, and I'm doing it. I'm like, whoa. So I try it again, and I'm like, oh, shit, my brother's going to come home. I had the brother that would kick my ass every single day, you know, and if he caught me with the board, he'd probably shove it down my throat. That's how pissed he would be. That's what my mind's saying, right? So I quickly grab the board and run to the backyard and put it back in the shed where I found it, exactly how I found it, right?
Yeah.
Another day rolls around, I do it again. Another day rolls around, I do it again. And a week goes by, and I'm riding this thing on the sidewalk 2 or 3 times, and I run back and stick it in the shed, right? So I'm out there one day. I guess I didn't wear a watch, so I've lost track of time. And who's coming up the street is my brother, and he sees me with the board. And I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I'm so done. He's probably going to crack me in the head with it and yell at me and whatever. So he walks up to me, and I'm like shaking, holding the board. He's like, hey, can you ride that thing? And I go, what? What'd you say? He's like, can you ride that? I'm like, I think so. He's like, let me see you. So I get on the sidewalk, I ride down. He's like, you can keep it. And he just walks away. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, whoa. I'm by myself, cheering myself on, like, what? Holy crap. There were very little moments in life with my brother that things like that would happen in my favor.
Wow.
Right? Very little. And that day was the infinite day for me that I got my first skateboard. Didn't ask him where he got it from. He probably stole it. Probably
threw it in the shed.
Right.
Yeah.
He couldn't ride it. He probably tried and broke himself. You know? And so that started me off.
Pause podcast.
Okay.
I need to tell you guys that this episode is brought to us by Athletic Greens.
Ooh, we love Athletic Greens.
We do.
This is gold in a box, right? Love this stuff. With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and Kelly's favorite thing in the whole world, adaptogens.
I love
There it is.
adaptogens.
This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging.
Well, not only that,
Ooh, tell me, Drone.
contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good.
Nothing budget, only buttery, right?
Nothing budget,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
But it also supports better sleep quality and recovery as well.
Tons of people take multivitamins, but it's important that you choose one with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb.
And it's also better when you not to have a full medicine cabinet full of, supplements.
Oh, man.
You know,
Wait, so I can get rid of all my supplements?
Yeah, I was just over at Kelly's house the other day, opened the cap. I was hit with supplements.
Get the trash can.
Yeah.
Throw them in there.
To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is just visit athleticgreens.com/9club. That's NINECLUB. Again, athleticgreens.com/9club. Take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance today,
There
which
it
is
is.
Athletic Greens.
Take over your health now.
So, red skateboard. I'm out on the sidewalk. I'm going to speed things up.
Sure,
right?
100%. Go
I'm
ahead.
out on the sidewalk. I'm skating, and one sunny day after school, I'm out there skating, and all of a sudden, I see this. I don't even know what this guy is. I'd never seen anybody that looked like this guy. Long blonde hair. It's like 6'2". He's pushing like a madman, and he gets to the little hill, and then he goes down a hill and starts doing these gyrations, like pumping, like he's doing slalom, right? Really fast. And he gets to the bottom of the hill, turns around, and pushes back up the hill. And I'm just standing there with my mouth open, like, what did I just see? What am I witnessing here, right? So he walks over to me. He's like, do you like skateboarding? I'm like, I don't even know skateboarding. I'm like, what's skateboarding? Like, I
don't even know what this thing is
I
called.
don't even know what it's called.
It's a red thing.
He's like, do you like skateboarding? I'm like, I guess so. He's like, do you know how to ride that thing? I'm like, I think so. Well, let me see it. Just like what my brother said to me. This guy's a little older than my brother.
Okay.
So I skate for this guy, and he says, you know, that board's nothing like this board that I have. I'm like, yeah, I believe you. You know, I'm like, what? It's wooden, and it's wide. It's a pig board, you know, and it's 1976, and never seen this guy before. He lives 2 blocks away. Short blocks, from me. Never seen him before, ever in my life. He says, I live down the street. He goes, if you're interested in skateboarding, go ask your mom if you can come to my house. I want to show you something. So I'm like, run. I grab the board and start running. Like it was like what Mike said that he did once before. With the board, he starts running with the board instead of skating it, and he knows how to skate, right? So I run into the house. Mom, there's this guy. He came riding down the street. He's got blonde hair. Never seen him before. He's got this big skateboard. She's like, calm down, calm down. What are you talking about? I'm like, he says he wants to show me something. She's like, who is he? His name is David Sadler. And everyone in the town knew his mom because she worked for the town. So my mom's like, oh, Mrs. Sadler's son. Okay. Don't be a nudge, and don't drive him crazy, and don't stay long.
Okay.
And be polite.
Was he really 6'2"?
He was like 6'2", huge.
Like
Literally.
how old was he?
He was like a Stacy Peralta, but thicker. Like,
Football player or something?
he was probably, at that time, he was probably 17.
Oh,
and
wow.
he looked like he could have been a football player. He was a professional surfer and a professional skateboarder. Right?
Wow.
In my town. And I didn't even know what skateboarding was. And this guy lives down the street from me, right? Story goes on. I go to his house. He's like, come up here. I want to show you something in my attic. We go up in the attic, and he opens up the door. And as I'm walking up the stairs, I smell something. I'm like, you know how kids like to smell gas? This was the smell of grip tape, old school grip tape. So I don't even know this yet. I'm like, what's that smell? That smells good. Like, what's he got up here, right? He opens the door, and this dude basically had a skate surf shop in his attic.
Oh, wow.
He had milk cartons filled with trucks, filled with wheels. He had decks lined up against the wall. He had surfboards hanging from this end of the attic. He had wetsuits hanging up. He had magazines stacked up like this high, and I'm like, who are you? What is that? What do you mean? He's like, take a look, walk around. So I'm walking around. He's like, I have so much stuff because my brother owns a surf shop in Florida. So, and I'm a professional surfer. What's a surfer? I don't even know what a surfer is, right? I don't even remember when Hawaii 5-0 came out, where they show the guy do the little cuts a little turn, you know. Still don't know what it is, you know. So he says, if any of these boards that are complete, if you want to take one of these and ride it, we can take it outside. I'm like, he's like, anyone you want, right? So I grab something. It's a longboard because I'm like riding this little tiny thing. So I'm like, the longboard looks kind of interesting. Let's take this outside and see how this works, right? I could probably lay on this too. I'm thinking like
the bigger the better at that age, right?
8-year-old kid, 8-year-old kid. I got this, right? So he takes me outside, and I'm riding this board, and he's like, look, I'll make you a deal. He's like, if you go for this deal that I make you, and you pull it off, you can have this board. It's a Sims Pure Juice longboard, 44 inches long, right? California slalom trucks, the original blue Kryptonics, right? They're old. The board's old, but I'm like, this board, nuts. This thing is so awesome. So he's like, you know the big hill down the street there? I'm going to take you there, and I want you to go down the hill. He didn't call it bombing, right? He just called it go down the hill, and you're going to make the left-hand turn into our street. Okay. He's like, you sure you got this? He's like, you have to ask your mom. I'm like, nope. So I walk to the top of the hill. I get on it. I get speed wobbles. Eat shit. Boom. Walk to the top of the hill again. Get speed wobbles again. Eat shit again. He's like, dude, you're all right? I'm like, I'm good. He's like, wow, this guy's tough. Like, he's bleeding right now. He's going to walk back up the hill again. So I walk back up, and I almost make it. Third try. I go to make the left, and there's gravel. I totally wipe out, eat it, smack my head, right? He's like, dude, maybe we can do this tomorrow. I'm like, no. I'm doing it right now, right? So I walk back up to the top of the hill. I bomb it again, and I make it. And I'm like, oh. And he's just like, yeah. He's like, I'll see you later. And he gives me the board, and I just walk away, and I'm like, now what? I need more. Like, what else do you have? He's like, come back tomorrow, and I'll show you something. He shows me a Skateboarder magazine. He brings out his 1975 issue, I think it was, Surfer publication. And then he brings out a more modern one, right? I can't remember the exact date I was when I was 8 years old. I have a timeline sheet that I usually bring with me, but I didn't bring it. So either way, he shows me these magazines, and I'm like, what is going on here? Magazines? Like, what is this? I'm flipping through it, mouth open. I'm sure of it, right? I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I see in the more modern skateboarder, it's a picture of Stacy Peralta with Ray Bones Rodriguez.
Ray Bones.
Right? And I'm like, that's not a white kid. I'm like, who's that? And he's like, well, that's Stacy Peralta. So he says the name Stacy. I think it's a girl.
Okay.
He has long hair, but not as long as Stacy's hair in the picture, right? But his hair is like to his shoulders, but I'm like, well, he's a boy. But this guy's kind of skinny, and his name is Stacy. And I'm like, I think he had one of his boards was pink at the time from Powell. I think it was, I don't know if it's the double beamer or whatever it was. It was his model, and it was pink, right? So Ray Bones is standing there, and I can see that he's a kid of color, right? So he's like, take this home and just look at it and do whatever you want. Take these 2 mags and do whatever. So I'm looking at the different timelines of when product looked like this and product now looks like this.
Sure.
And as I'm flipping through the magazine, I see more kids of color. And I'm like, so I show my mom. I'm like, hey, Mom, check this out. And she's like, what is that? What is that kid? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, what is he, Puerto Rican? And everybody was Puerto Rican when you lived in New Jersey. Right? You guys have Mexican here, and we have Puerto Rican in New Jersey, right? So I'm like, I don't know, but he's definitely not white. So that gave me my in to do more with the skateboards, because my parents saw kids of color. So something's going on here. We still don't know what it is, but we're going to let him move a little further with this. So be careful. And if you get hurt doing it, meaning like if you get really hurt doing it, we're going to have to ask you to quit. So here I am riding Schwinn scramblers around, no helmet, no pads, right?
Right.
But I'm not allowed to ride the skateboard, and I come in bloody from jumping the scrambler every single day. But you're telling me that I have to quit riding the skateboard? I'm not gonna quit riding the skateboard just because I fall. It's gonna happen, right?
It's the name of the game.
It's the name of the game. So Dave Sadler won. I'm gonna move the story forward.
Please,
Dave
yeah.
Sadler says to me, there you go. So Dave Sadler says to me, there's another ad where they're standing at a gas station. That's the one I think it was that I saw.
Okay. But this is the Ray Bones.
This is when he gets the
Stacy.
Skull and Sword model. That's became his board, That's the iconic PAL graphic.
Yes, it
It's
is.
a killer ad. So
moving the story ahead, you said.
moving ahead, Dave Sadler says, hey, I want to introduce you to some kids. You've been skating for a little while now. You've been cutting lawns. You've been coming to my house and buying boards complete for $7, $10, and I'm buying all sorts of stuff.
Oh, so
right?
you're a customer now.
Yeah,
You're getting
And
all the new stuff.
I'm like standing right down from his street so I could see if he's coming home or not.
But wait a minute.
And I act like I roll by, like, hey, Dave. He's like,
Oh,
"Hey,
yeah.
what do you got? You need anything?
You're stocking them
Yeah, exactly.
to see if you can get some
Exactly.
product.
I need money. I need money, and I need boards. I'm like, he's like, I got you.
But wait a minute.
Right?
At this point in time, is there any other kids in the skateboarding that you've seen?
There are, but I didn't know them at school.
Okay.
They never made it. They didn't wear skate shirts to school. They didn't make me aware that they rode skateboards, and I didn't know who they were. They lived 5 blocks away from me. Wow. So Dave Sadler says, I know these kids. I think you guys are the same age. I'll bring you over there and introduce you. So he introduces me to my new dudes that I'm going to get into skate parks with. They're already hitting the skate parks. They're already on the Team YMCA team, right, with a quarter pipe.
Oh, they're good.
They're doing the whole shit, and they've got 3 years on me, right? They're competing, and I'm like, what? So they're opening the doors to me.
You're like 11 at this point.
Yeah,
12?
I'm getting on 10, 11, right? And they're getting into it, and I'm getting into it. I'm like, I'm never going to quit skateboarding. And I don't even understand what's happening with the industry. It started getting weird, right? And I'm hearing it from Dave, and Dave Sadler breaks his femur. He's at Cherry Hill Skate Park, and they had this little L bowl, so he would warm up in the L bowl before hitting like the egg bowl, which was like 12 foot high. And then they had a keyhole, and then he had 2 kidneys, a right and a left, right? And then they had a half pipe with a 3/4 pipe in it, right? It was one of the best indoor skate parks ever, right? Wally Holiday built it, and with some help from some other people or whatever, and a financier. So he breaks his femur, and he's like, I'm done. Like, back then, they weren't putting rods to put the femurs back together. They were
Oh,
just
damn.
setting it and then putting the cast on there. Hope,
Set it and
cross
forget it.
your fingers, right?
Damn.
So he didn't come out so good. So he's like, "There's no more skating for me." But he was the guy. We would build quarter pipes, and he would come and do lip slides and just rip the whole ramp down. Like it would just go slide sideways, and then he'd ride out of the broken ramp. You know, we're like, "Dude, what's going on?"
Dave.
Yeah,
Damn it.
Again, that's what we would say. Hey, you know, yeah, great guy, great people. So
So now you have a whole new crew.
whole new crew. I meet Jim McKiernan. I meet Jim Mosk. I meet Zach LaFan. I meet Carl Drake. And I meet one other kid who would always let me borrow his board. He had a brand new board and he wasn't good, so I always wanted to use his board because I had huge shit, you know. Let me try your board, you know. All right, cool. So I'm hanging out with these guys, and the Y closes their skateboard program, so I missed that. Skate parks start closing, and I'm not thinking I'm going to go to any, but I end up going with Zach LaFan. Zach LaFan had this mom who had a station wagon, and she would pile everybody in. Let's go to the skate park, you know. And if you can get the money, and get yourself a membership, and then I'll take you guys there when I can. Jim Musk, his parents would take us to Cherry Hill. I went 2 or 3 times with him. I went to a skate park with David Sadler when he would go surfing. We went to a place called Monster Bowl. It was in on the Jersey Shore. So, so I meet these guys. We're doing our thing, and Skateboarder Magazine. I'm just speeding along. Skateboarder
please do,
Magazine
please.
turns
Yeah.
from Skateboarder Magazine to Action Now.
Oh, yeah, Action Now.
Action Now was appealing to us, but it wasn't Skateboarder.
Right.
We're like, why don't you just make a mag that has, they have BMX mags at that point. So why don't you just make a shifter cart mag? And why don't you just make a early day wakeboarding, which they used to do behind fan jets in Florida and swamps. They would ride around on surfboards holding on to leashes, you know.
You're basically saying, like, just have a mag for each individual thing.
And they started putting less and less skateboarding in it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was a
They're
couple,
combining everything.
they're combining everything. They're
Grasping
thinking
at
that's the
straws.
new wave. They're way ahead of their time.
Grasping at straws, Raj. Is that what you said?
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
there you go.
There's a premiere issue of
Right.
Oh my god.
Action Now.
So Stacy with the hat, Bones Brigade,
Surfing, bikes, and it even says
Yeah.
skateboarders.
Yeah, I think that's Stevie Cab, probably in a, or it looks like a Variflex rider maybe.
Wow.
So either way, so my friends were like, "What is this?" And they didn't tell anybody. They just changed it.
Yeah.
So as soon as Action Now went out of business, it went defunct. My friends quit. Skate parks were gone. We had one skate park, and Cherry Hill was open until like 1981, 82, off and on, and then it closed. They all quit. I'm like, "What do you mean you quit?" I had half pipes. I had quarter pipes.
You got
I had everything we needed. There was a new breed of skater that was coming in. They were catching the tail end of the trend from the late 70s, early 80s, but they didn't know anything, and I knew everything. Right? I had Sadler, I had all the mags, had everything. I had all the Thrashers when they finally came out in 81. I got put on to Thrasher with my friend Stephen Willis. He was part of that new group of skaters, you know. He had a quarter pipe. I was like, "Take your quarter pipe, bring it to my house. We'll connect it to my quarter pipe." I got the quarter pipe that was used by the YMCA. It was stashed in some YMCA that went defunct. And then my boy's mom calls the director and says, "Where's the ramp?" And he's like, "Oh, it's still there at this place. You can go get it. You can have it if you want." So my dad's got the truck. He works at the lumber yard. He's got the flatbed. We'll go and get it. 3 of us with my dad drive over and pick this ramp up, puts the bed up, puts the chains on it, pulls it up, and then we push it onto the bed and bring it home. You know, so I got this quarter pipe.
Amazing.
We attach our quarter pipes together. We make a half pipe. It's all sketchy. You know, we're skating. It's fun.
Do you even know what's going on around the rest of the world with skateboarding at this point in time? You have the magazines.
Still not knowing anything because I didn't.
West Coast
Yeah.
skating, East Coast. You
Yeah.
don't know what
I know what's going on through the magazines. That was the Bible.
Yeah, but it's just but it's a still picture, right? It's like you don't know what.
You were lucky to get a sequence shot,
Right.
right? I remember seeing the sequence of David Andrecht and skateboarder doing the channel jump. It was a big channel. I think it was Whittier, and he's doing this big front.
Oh, so you're already seeing spots that maybe you want to go to.
I'm thinking I'm going to go to California someday, but parks are closing in California as well.
It's
The only thing open was Del Mar and Pipeline and Upland. That was it.
And your backyard.
My backyard fell apart.
It fell apart.
We moved our ramps from my backyard on skateboards across the town to Seth Ornstein's house. So the Ornsteins were like, our son's getting fat. He's listening to Ozzy, and he wants to play the bass. Right?
We need to get him on a skateboard.
And we have a quarter pipe, and he doesn't use it.
Oh,
and
there you go.
he told us about you guys, and I went with him and his mom to a place called Milburn Sports, which was like a sporting goods spot about 3 towns away. And they sold all the hottest stuff, right? That was our new spot. But Seth got lazy. I don't want to do it. And she's like, you can come over. You can skate the quarter pipe whenever you want. Well, what if we bring our quarter pipe over here? Maybe Seth will be more excited about skateboarding. That was a ploy to get our ramp to his house because his quarter pipe was brand new, you know. Great idea. You can bring the ramp over here if you want. Do whatever you want. You could put it in this section of the backyard. They had this huge backyard. Put it right over here.
How did Seth feel about it?
Seth didn't give a shit.
Okay.
And he never came outside. We actually tried to get his board from him so we could practice new tricks because ours were getting beat up. So we're like, let's beat his board up. He doesn't even use it. And it's sitting right there on the porch. Scheming, you know. So
do we hit the 80s already? Are we in, or is this late?
This is
70s?
80s. This is
early
80s.
80s.
Yeah, this is early 80s now. This is 1980, going in towards the end of 1980. I'm thinking there's never going to be a skateboarding magazine ever again. I don't know of anything. So much stuff happened within 1980 and 1981. So one day I'm in the kitchen. My dad says, "Hey, Rodney, get in here." He's looking at the newspaper. He's like, "Look at this. It's a demo being held for the 4-H fair 5 towns away. You want to go?" Sure, we go.
What team?
This is when I meet Tom Groholski and his dad.
Okay.
So Tom Groholski, Jim Murphy, Chuck Treese, those guys are all there doing this demo in this encased with fishnet to keep the board from shooting at and getting people. And they bought pieces. Tom's dad bought pieces from this skate park called Fiber Rider. And then he had pieces from some other skate park, and they pieced it together and made a demo ramp that he could fold up, put it on top of the van, and drive it wherever.
Beautiful.
You know? So I get there with my dad. I'm like, holy crap, right? I didn't bring my board. I didn't know what we were going to run into, you know. Tom's dad comes over to my dad. They start talking. They start befriending one another. We have this big ramp in the backyard, and my dad's like, what big ramp? He's like, the ramp that was at the Staten Island skate park in New York is in our backyard. And my dad's like, hey, did you hear what he just said? I was like, yeah. He's like, he can come over whenever he wants. If nobody's there, he can use the ramp. We don't lock it up. You know, you have to know it's there. I'm like, holy shit. I meet Tom. He's like, too bad you didn't bring your board, man.
Is this what we're talking about right here?
That's Tom's ramp, yeah.
It's
a Lexan half pipe, 12 foot high. So this is the setup of this ramp at the Staten Island skate park. 12 foot high, 12 foot wide, and 12-foot transitions.
Wow.
They had a 10-foot high, 10-foot wide, 10-foot transition ramp, and then they had an 8-foot high, 8-foot wide. Nobody knew what the hell they were doing back then. But this ramp was perfect because the transitions were so big. When you landed airs, you had a chance of making it. It wasn't like Lance's ramp. I remember going to Lance's ramp at 8-foot high transitions. That was like our ramp. Sketch.
It's funny to see like the rolling so small on the
I've
side.
never seen it like that.
Scary rolling.
But why?
Very, very scary. Before I knew how to drop in.
Hold on, we'll go back there. Let's go back and look at.
He
this
put a foot of vert.
But if there's
look at how little that is.
But that roll in. No, we're talking about the one on the left there.
Yeah.
How is that scary?
Your left wheel, if you're on that side, would almost hit the corner of the ramp. On the
Oh,
way in.
it goes.
Yeah.
It curves in.
Yeah,
Okay.
You just have to
Right.
kind of sketch. They didn't know what they were doing. Right?
Yeah.
Get in the race.
Rodney,
Get in the race.
But you're good though.
No, I wasn't good.
Oh,
no, I wasn't good.
Okay.
I could do it, but I wasn't good.
So that was for beginners to kind of start out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Are you dropping in on this ramp yet?
Eventually, yeah, but not then.
Not then.
Not
Okay.
when
Okay.
not when we first got there. I was learning the quick pump, quick start, quick pump, and I watched Tom run up the ramp with his board and jump on it. And I was like, oh, I got to learn that. You know. Then I learned how to drop in. Stephen Willis and I would always go to Tom's ramp. Tom had sessions all winter long, all spring, all summer, all fall.
If you said this was 5 towns over, how did you get there?
Train.
Yeah,
we had to train.
You have a train stop right in front of your house.
We had to skate 2 miles to his house from his train station. we had to skate 3 blocks from my house to our train station. So,
Wow.
I mean, to go skate a ramp like that, though, that ain't nothing.
dude,
You'd skate 80 blocks.
that was easy, right? We would skate the 2 miles and what big deal, right? So meeting Tom Groholski was one of the most important things in my life as far as skateboarding was concerned, because of how advanced he was and how advanced he and his crew, Tom, Murph, Jay Henry, all these guys were advanced. They were going to Cherry Hill, and they had the opportunity to see all the top pros.
What is the age difference between you guys?
Tom, I think, is 3 years difference.
Older.
Okay. And no one ever knew how old each
Yeah,
other was.
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Especially at
And
that
he was
time.
he's a short dude, but he was mature for his age, listening to punk rock, Go to his house and hang out. He was cool with us because he saw how interested we were in skateboarding. That's probably his first model right there. Bernie O'Dowd. Nice.
Now, at that time, were you one of the only black kids skating? Or was there a few
yeah.
other?
Well, I was one of the only kids skating.
Okay.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
So
In your
Black or
town.
not?
in my town and in the surrounding town. And in the surrounding town where Mike V grew up, there was a guy named Scott Bayless. And he was like the folklore. He was like the best skater. He could do like 50 360s,
Spinning around.
Yeah.
There's one of
And-
those guys in every town.
Yeah, exactly. He could bomb every hill. He could ride any terrain. But no one ever got to see him. But he was real. Dave Sadler's like, that guy, he's the best. He could have went far with this. He could have been like a pal skater, So here's a quick story. I'm skating past the post office in my town one day, and all of a sudden the car goes, pulls in front of me, and I'm like, and I stop. I get off the board. This guy jumps out of the car. He happens to be white. And he looks at me and he's like, hey, dude, can I try your board real quick? I'm like, yeah. He's got a car. He's not going to steal my board, right? He gets on the board, starts doing tic-tacs, and then he does a 360. And then he gets off the board, and he's like, thanks. And I'm like, hey, wait. I'm like trying to figure out who he is, right? So I tell Dave Sadler, I saw this guy. He took my board, he did 360s, and jumped back into the car laughing, right? And drives off like a madman, right? He was probably drunk or something, right?
I don't believe that. What are you talking about?
So Dave's like, holy crap, that's Scott Bayless.
That was
Oh,
Nobody
wow.
acts like that. He's the only dude that acts like that, and you just saw Scott Bayless. I haven't seen him like 10 years. Like, holy crap.
Wow.
So I went and told my boys, I saw Scott Bayless. What do you mean you saw Scott Bayless? Dave Sadler says it was him. He did like 10 360s and no problem, and then jumped in his car and drove off and said thanks. And they were like, holy shit, sounds like the guy, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so that was interesting. So I got a lot of mentoring from the Groholskis. Mr. Groholski was, he struck me as a father who had wished he had skateboarding when he was a kid. And he got my dad to have full confidence that what your son is doing is the right thing. Because I support my son 100%. Mr. Groholski, Mr. G, they called him, he would take groups of kids, Tom's friends, on California trips. We're going on tour. We're going to Cali. We're going to hit the skate parks, right? I think Tom hit maybe, I don't know how many parks he hit, but they hit quite a few when the parks still existed. And I think Murph went on that trip, and maybe Chuck Treese and all his closest homies went on this trip.
Seems like your dad was pretty supportive up till this point, though. He's driving you to the houses and stuff.
He tried because I had quit baseball. I quit trying to play basketball, which I sucked, and I never played football. And my dad could have been a professional football player. Like, he was the guy. He could have been one of those guys that was a quarterback back then, because he could throw a football until you couldn't even see it anymore. It's stupid high and way far.
Over those damn mountains.
My dad was twice my size. My dad was twice my size. Literally, like twice my size, like a monster. His feet were like size 13s, and his hands are like twice the girth and the length of my hand. He was a maniac, but he was the amazing guy that was very supportive. I started playing soccer, and the only way to appease my folks with me playing soccer was to have this drive. We still had a National Soccer League in America back then when I started playing soccer, and when did I start? I think I was 9 or 10 when I
Soccer's
started
like the
playing,
first sport that any kid in America starts playing.
Right.
Yeah.
When it was available. Now, definitely. Now, without a doubt, because we have.
But we always move on to some other sport, though. It's like you start with little soccer, and then you move on to baseball. Or
It's true. Or you do
football.
those first, like Mike played baseball.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't think he ever played soccer, but
What about
so
like your brothers? Do they play sports?
my brother? Unfortunately, rest in peace.
Oh,
But he sucked.
okay.
My dad's like, all right, let's get the baseball mitts. Here you go. And it's, like
Right
my dad's
past
like,
him.
you're supposed to,
Supposed to catch it.
here's a pop fly.
Right here.
Throw it up, and he'd be like, my dad would be like, what is going on?
Your dad's like, never
What's wrong
mind.
with this kid?
I'm going
So your
back
dad's like
inside.
you're like the youngest like athletic kid they have. Kind of they're like kind of get you to play those sports and stuff.
My sister ran track. My
Okay.
brother was a geek and a nerd that swore that he was going to be the coolest guy ever. And it wasn't until a little later on that he did become one of the coolest guys in school. They actually called him Cool Ed. His name is Eddie. Called him Cool Ed, right? My brother, though, on a bicycle, holy crap. On a motorcycle, what? My dad was like, this is shocking. How did you ride these mini bikes and motorcycles, street bikes? He's so good. What is going on here, right? Too expensive. My parents couldn't support it. They never had enough money. We were always on a budget. I would ask for one thing for Christmas. My mom's like, you can't just ask for one thing. I'm like, yes, I can. Well, what do you want? I want a deck, a new deck. That's all you want? She's like, what about underwear? What about socks? I'm like, you just buy me that any day of the week.
You're buying me that anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Why do
want
you
that
have
as a present. No.
what are you talking about? Who wants underwear for a present? Right? I'm like,
Nowadays I do.
Yeah.
But back then, no.
Right.
Yeah. How much were boards back then?
Same price in the 50s. Yeah.
Okay.
50s. So my
psycho. Never changed.
yeah. So my first board, I bought it from a place called the Original Bike Shop, and they sold skateboards, and they had good boards, And it was next to the hobby shop that used to sell skateboards, but the hobby shop went out of business. So the bike shop bought all their stock, and then they bought new stock, and I bought the West Humpston, the Dogtown.
Oh.
That was my first real board.
legitimate.
Yeah, I got a West Humpston shirt that I bought today.
Okay.
I hadn't seen him in a while. I was like, I got to get one of these shirts, man.
Nice.
Let me ask you a question really quick. You were saying that Tom Groholski was pinnacle in your skateboarding career. Why?
Tom was pinnacle in my skateboard career because he taught me what was possible. Like Dave didn't really teach me what was possible because his career was ended from the break, and he was getting older. And he wasn't getting aggro.
And Tom was in it already.
Tom was way in it, and Tom was exposed to the Powell team. He saw every team that came through Cherry Hill. He saw every skater that came through the Monster Bowl, which was in the Jersey Shore. And then they went to California. So he got to see live, and he was a competitor.
He's passing down the knowledge.
Passing down the knowledge. He rode for Gullwing, Gullwing Wheels. He rode for Madrid. I think his first board was with Madrid before he got on Vision.
Okay.
Nicknamed Jersey Devil. And Tom had all the info that I didn't have, so I transferred that information to every other skater that I came in touch with. And, skate spots, don't tell them about this skate spot. I'm going to take you to the barn ramp. The barn ramp? What's the barn ramp? We go to the barn ramp, and it's the Kane brothers. It's about an hour away. They have this half pipe in their barn, right? And it's dark as crap. It's like one little bulb, you know what I mean? You can barely see. Everybody got down there. Christian Hosoi's coming to what? Christian Hosoi, holy shit. There were two beams. So here's the ramp, right? And I don't know how much flat bottom it had, but it was only probably 12 feet wide.
Jeez.
That was the width of the barn. As soon as you walked into the barn, you were on the platform.
Wow.
I mean, on the flat bottom. There were two beams running across the top. So, like, if you aired in a certain way, you might hit your hand on the beam or something.
Could
but
you grab the beam?
You could grab it, but you
Nobody
couldn't
was
hang
doing
on
that.
it.
Okay, okay.
That would just be you being a fool, and they'd kick you out. They'd
Oh,
say, "Leave."
showboating.
Yeah. Well, just being stupid, right? Like, who's doing that?
I don't know. Hosoi, maybe.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Well, Hosoi
Somebody.
comes, and he's doing the bio backside airs, right? And everybody's like, yeah. And he's coming in, and it looks like his hand's going to smack the beam on the way in. But it never happened. But it was like, holy crap, this place is scary, right?
Yeah, but it's sick, though.
It's awesome. We've seen massive sessions going down all night long, all year round. It's raining out. We're in the barn. The barn's leaking. They got rags on the ramp. Groholski's drying his ramp off in the wintertime. It's a Lexan ramp, so it doesn't absorb anything, so it's never falling apart. And he would put Coca-Cola on the ramp because it'd be slippery.
Yeah,
He learned from like the Cedar Crest boys and anybody who had slippery stuff. He learned what to do. He had competitions.
That's some OG right there.
I got some gnarly
Coke on the ramp.
Coke on the ramp. I had some
Still works.
gnarly pictures of me with my. I grew out of my rector shorts and shit, so I looked like a super nerd standing there like with this helmet that I grew out of too.
Oh, wait, here we go. Listen, sorry to interrupt.
There you go.
Barn ramp.
There you go. Tom Groholski right
Tom
there.
Groholski.
Yeah.
Doing a 5-0.
Killing it. So look at that beam right there.
Dude, that is crazy
So
looking.
you got to air
yeah.
between the beam and the coping. That's kind of what we're talking about.
That is sketchy.
I'm just saying because I wasn't getting radical. So I was thinking that someone was going to hit that beam,
Right, right.
They would bail, the board would hit every now and then.
Yeah.
It's filled with dust. Dust would go over here. They had masonite, so everybody's coughing, breathing in masonite
But
dust.
you could skate during the winters, right?
Yeah.
Sick. Just indoor was the way to go.
Let me ask you a question, dude. Because we're talking early 80s right here, right? You're 12, 13 now?
Yeah,
14?
12, 13,
12,
14 going on.
The thing that's tripping me out right now in this conversation is like, we haven't even got to that point, but we're about to get there. But Shut, you started that in like 86.
Yeah.
So we're not even far off from you starting a skateboard company.
So much stuff happened. It's incredible.
I know, but I didn't realize you were so young when you started Shut. That's what's tripping me out right now.
Mike V didn't know that I was only a few years older than him. He thought I was like 10 years older than him.
Sure.
He's like, Rod, how old are you? And I told him, he was just like, what?
Well, some people have a bigger than life persona. Like I'm the same age as Guy Mariano, Jerron, but they all seem so much older than me. They seem like this.
Because you saw them in the videos.
I saw them in the
before.
video, like they were
yeah.
celebrities, you know.
Everything happened for yourself.
They were bigger than life.
Yeah, you guys probably held on to your opportunities too, It depends on how you grow up, My parents always told me, you know how to act. That's all they'd have to say, I'd be like, all right, so I don't blow it. I'm not going to follow what my friends are doing. I was the kid that would go to birthday parties and parents would be like, I know your son's not hanging out with my son anymore, but can he come to the birthday party? Because I'd be telling all the kids, what the hell are you doing? We're trying to have cake and ice cream, and you guys are acting like fools, tearing up our friend's room. I had one birthday party when I was 5, never again. My mom's like, you want to have a birthday party next year? I'm like, never again. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, these guys turned into lunatics. I'm like, how does this even happen? I'm like, what is going on here?
Coming over messing up my room.
Exactly.
But how did you go from a 12-year-old kid skating the barn ramp to just a few years later starting a company with Bruno Musso? Like,
I was
how does this happen?
probably 14 when I was skating the barn ramp.
Okay,
but I
so
was
this
skating
is
the 78 ditch when I was probably 13, and high school started when I was 14.
Yeah.
Right. So junior high, I crammed in a whole bunch of stuff, hitting the skate parks when I was, my junior high years. And some great influences, and then.
So what were you, 20 when you started?
No, I was 18,
18.
just going on 19, and I had a little stint here in California.
Yeah.
So check this out. My shout out list here.
Sure.
I have these 3 gentlemen called the Rockman Brothers, and the Rockman Brothers are very instrumental in cheering me on with me being the skateboarder and with me being interested in working for them. I played soccer for the soccer league that the one brother, Spencer Rockman, who used to try out for the Cosmos when we still had the National League here for soccer in the United States, NASL. And he would never make it, but he tried out, I think, a few times. But he was the most noted soccer player that knew everything and knew Europeans and knew people in other countries. So they were like, he's playing soccer. He rides his skateboard. Bruce Rockman was, I think he was the oldest. And they opened up a soccer store. They sold every cleat that you could possibly get from every manufacturer international. They had this little tiny, they had a place the size of this filled with cleats and balls and everything that you could get soccer. This is late 70s. By the 80s, they had huge stores that had, specific items. They had deals with Adidas and Nike and everybody else, and everybody from every surrounding town went there to get soccer stuff. They probably would have done better now if they were still in business, but they're not in business anymore. But the one brother, Bruce, decided to open up what Mike Vallely calls it a bikini shop that sold skateboards.
Okay.
So basically this idea that Bruce Rockman had was to open a surf shop, esque, and sell bikinis, sell beachwear. So he sold Catch It, and he sold Gotcha, and he sold Old P, and he sold all the
This
regulars.
is out here?
This is in the East Coast.
East
This
Coast,
is in New
gotcha,
Jersey.
okay.
This is at a mall.
Okay.
And he says to me one day, he really liked me because he lost his Rolex. His Rolex fell off his arm once when he was delivering ice cream, and it was out in front of my house, and I found it. Holy crap, what is this? So I run into the house, show my dad. He's like, somebody dropped this. Like, this is a Rolex. So my dad was a time guy. He loved watches and clocks. So he was like, I know what this is. So he said, ask the ice cream men when they roll up tomorrow if it's there. So I roll up. They roll up, and I say, hey, I found this watch yesterday. They show, oh, my God. Whatever ice cream you want. We'll give you a whole
The
entire...
ice cream man's
Yeah,
rocking
ice cream man.
Rolex?
Yeah.
Ice cream man. Yeah, he's
I was
rocking
just
a
thinking in my
Rolex.
mind.
Okay.
Bar mitzvah present.
Oh, shit.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Wow.
Whatever ice cream you want.
We're
give you
selling a lot of ice cream.
Exactly. We'll give you...
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah, they were selling a lot of ice cream. They were hustlers. I think they went until they had no more ice cream. That's how they did it. So if you emptied a truck, I think that was a lot. That's quite a bit of money.
That's a good
So
day.
you
Yeah.
returning you returning the Rolex to him.
Yeah, got him paying attention to, you're really honest.
Okay.
And I have this idea. This is like a few years after I found the Rolex, and I was a little older. And he says, we're going to open up this store in
Bikini
Woodbridge
board
Mall.
shop.
Bikini board shop.
Okay.
And we'd like you to be our skate expert. We know you're the skate guy, right?
Amazing.
So do you want to do it? Absolutely, I'm in. So I started working. I'm 14 years old. We open up the shop, and I'm like the skate expert. And then I became like assistant manager. And Bruce Rockman and the manager say, we're going to go to a trade show in California. We want to bring you along. Wow, really? I've heard about these before. I've heard you guys talking about it. I'm so excited. By that time, I had a Variflex sponsorship, right? So I was getting Variflex boards.
Okay.
And I was telling Variflex that I'm a street skater. Like, this is before anyone would say that I'm a street skater. You didn't say that. You just rode around in the street, and that's what skateboarding was on the street.
Everything. You did everything.
I did everything.
Yeah.
Ditches, ramps, and everything.
Sure.
But I was specifically going for the street thing because I had this longing to find spots. Like, look at that ditch over there. Or like in Pennsylvania, what is that doing there? Hey, Dad, can I get my board out of the car and
So
go
you were a
skate it for a little bit?
self-proclaimed street skater.
And the only one who reminded me of that was Mike Vallely. He says, Rod, you were always in the street. Like, no matter what. Like, you would skate from A to B, no matter how far it was. You weren't thinking about it. You were just going. He's like, that's street skating. That's like living in the streets. You're not riding your bicycle with your skateboard in your hand
Right.
to the spot. You're skating to the spot. And before we got cars,
Sure.
Right.
So they take me to this trade show. Bruce Rockman and the manager of this bikini skate shop that I worked at.
Is
It's
it
called
ASR back then?
It's called Freestyle. Yeah, it was called ASR.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, just making sure.
I think it was in Long Beach.
Sure.
We get there, we get to the hotel, and they're saying, okay, we're going to bring you in with us, and we're going to ask you what you think is cool. Like, we're not going to listen to the people selling us. We're going to ask you what's cool. First day passes. They don't bring me in. They're having an argument. I'm like, whatever. Second day, they don't bring me in. I'm like, it's only a 3-day show. When are you going to bring me in? You said I was
Where do
going
you do? They leaving you at the hotel?
I'm at the
What's
hotel.
going on?
Just chilling out at the hotel, right?
You
Skating
found
in-
this guy's Rolex.
Found a little
What's going on?
curve, skating that, skating a curve. All right, we're going to bring you on the third day, right? Third day comes, and they're like, sorry, we couldn't do it. And I was like, okay. Actually, they say, sorry, we can't bring you today either, but maybe next year. They go to the show. I pack my stuff. I find where the closest Greyhound to get a bus.
Oh, you're out of
and
there.
I'm out, right?
You're pissed at them.
I'm out. So check this out. I already had it preset.
Are we mad at them at this point?
I don't care about them at this point.
Okay.
Love you guys.
Yeah.
Peace, right?
Oh, Rodney's out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I, before I leave for this trade show, I'm speaking to a friend of mine. His name is John Flanders. And he says, I'm going to be going to California the same time you're going to this trade show. So we should hook up. So I'm like, all right. He's like, where are you going to be? So I said, I'm going to be in Long Beach. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to be driving past Oceanside. Nice.
Grab a thing.
So he says, we're going to be driving past Oceanside. And I said, I'm going to Oceanside. I think I'm going to show up there.
Oceanside's not too far from Long Beach.
The contest is going on in Oceanside, and I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Right. So perfect timing. Go to the payphone, drop a couple coins in there, and I say, John, when are you flying out here? He's like, I'm flying out tomorrow. I said, I'm taking a Greyhound bus, and I'm going to end up close to Oceanside. He's like, what highway? I was like, I don't know. I bust out the map.
Thomas guy.
Right? He's like, I'm going to be on this highway. And I say, I'm going to be over here. And he's like, I'll pick you up. You just stay at this spot over here, and I'll come pick you up. I'm going to have a rental car. Right? He picks me up. He drives me to Oceanside. This is the big Oceanside contest for Mike V that he won. Right? So I told Mike I was going to show up.
Okay.
It all worked out for me. Right? I get to Oceanside. Hey, Mike. He's like, holy shit, you made it. I'm like, yeah, man, I told you I was gonna make it. He's like, you gonna enter? I'm like, I don't know about that. My board fucking lame right now. I don't have any stuff. He's like, dude, I'll hook you up. I was like, I don't know. Are you ready? He's like, I'm set. He has a skate off with the Gons off to the side before practice runs for these guys starts, right? And him and Gons are doing all this stuff. There's like these pillars, and it's like the beach. It's the beach stretch, whatever
like the strand,
it's like the boardwalk,
yeah,
right. And then there's these pillars holding up this, I think, like a boardwalk thing or like a bridge. I don't remember what it was, but it had pillars, and then there was like a concrete barrier, that held the pillars, right? So they're doing all sorts of stuff. Mike's doing his hand plant press ups and doing in street plants, and then Gonzo's like, oh wow, check this out. So it was for the first time, my mind was blown that Steve Rocco and Mark Gonzalez were doing ollies up to this bench. It was about yo-high, right? And then at the top of this bench was the back, like the seat back. So I'm like, how do you fucking make these boards ollie so high, man? We're just ollieing up the curbs. Like and Mike is barely ollieing up to garbage cans, right? He's not going over them yet or doing anything like that, but he's getting the ollie, and we're watching, and we're like, he looks at me and he's just like, holy crap, look at the way these guys do these friggin' ollies, right? Mike immediately catches on, and he's like, okay, I figured it out, and he starts ollieing higher. But Rocco goes up, and here's the bench, and here's the back on the bench, right? And Rocco goes up and goes poop, and gets both trucks up there 50-50.
On
and
the
then
back.
On the back end of it, and then jumps off. And then Gonzo's like, hey, Rocco, that was close, And then Mark goes up and does it and kind of makes it. And then their run starts. So Mike's looking at me. It's just like, oh, Rod, can you believe this? Like, let me introduce you to Stacy. He brings me over to Stacy Peralta. Stacy's like, hey, what's up? I heard all about you. Nice to have you, right? Todd Hastings, everyone's there. Jimmy Thiebaud is just about to get on PAL team.
Jimmy Thiebaud.
Yeah, Tommy Guerrero is about to get him on the PAL team.
Sure.
And he is like so excited. I'm like, wow, this kid, I don't even know who he is, right? He's so excited. And he's like, dude, are you getting on PAL too? And I'm like, no. Mike has flown me some stuff, and I kind of ride for Variflex, but the boards they're not really so good. And I kept giving excuses as to, the only excuse that I could give to people that Variflex wasn't so bad was because Alan Losi was a ripper, Lance Mountain,
okay,
John Lucero skated for Variflex,
Yep.
George Orton. They had Eddie O'Guerra. They had killer skaters,
they had a team,
right?
yeah.
But the product was lame. I would break a box of boards just trying street tricks that were just making up stuff, and the boards would just break like matchsticks.
This is a shitty wood, or was this?
The wood looked good, but it was crappy wood and crappy glue, barely any concave, and they were just shoveling just moving product out of the door. That's
Yeah.
what it seemed like, you know.
At that
And
time, I'm sure they didn't have too many like manufacturers where you can like produce boards.
they probably could have, but I think that they were ahead of Rocco with having stuff made in other countries.
Well, that's the thing too. Is like back then, skateboard companies actually manufactured their own boards. That was the whole thing, right? Rocco was like one of the first to not do that, right? He outsourced all of his stuff.
No, the Big Five kept it quiet.
Okay. So there was a point in time where everybody started outsourcing their stuff. That's what you're saying.
And you wouldn't know it,
Right.
You know, you wouldn't know.
But up
whether
until then,
outsourcing
everybody
it.
was producing their own.
Yeah,
boards.
well, you know, so you had Ermico,
Yep.
and Ermico was making trucks, and they were making Indy, and that was the second truck that Ermico,
Mm-hmm.
Eric Swenson, and Fausto Vitello, that was their operation. And yeah, see, this is like one of those randoms, you know, like they were moving tons of these products out. Look at the cell block on
I
there.
remember those.
And that's a little bit of a better board, right? But then they have the Alan Losi completes, which were really, they were good.
Okay.
They were really wide, fish shape, you know, with the little.
They were going after quantity, not quality.
There we go. Yeah, and I didn't know the difference, but it was my first sponsor, so I did the best I could, and I thought I was going to go work there. Actually, that was my plan when I was in Oceanside, and then Mike is like, bro, we're going to do something. Like, what are you going to do next? So I'm like, I'm going back to Upland. I had been to Upland. I went with my friend Stephen Willis. His dad had a meeting, like 2 towns out of Upland. And he's like, I'm going to California. You want to come with me? And my friend Steve's like, my dad's going to bring us, dude. He's going to pay for everything. We're just going to go. I'm just like, hell yeah. So I tell my mom, and she's like, you can go. No problem. We get out to Upland. And every morning, his dad, before he went to his meetings for a whole week, would drop us off at Upland, right? And we had the whole park to ourselves. We'd sit out in front of the gate, waiting for Mrs. Hoffman to come open the gate. And Mr. Hoffman, they'd open up. How you boys doing? Where are you from? We're like, we were here. No, we weren't there yet. When I went back there, I was like, I was here last year. Do you remember? She's like, oh yeah, I remember you. You were here with your friend, right? And it was a heat wave. And I kept telling you, you better get your asses into the skate shop and get some AC and drink some water because you're gonna pass out at my park. I don't want to find the East Coast boys laying out on the concrete.
Totally.
Because you're
Not on
not
my watch.
right. So they're like, why don't you just wait till the evening? It cools down. We put the lights on. I'm like, we're at Upland.
We're here.
not
We're
waiting
going to
for it.
skate.
Exactly. So I made my way back to Upland, and Mrs. Hoffman's like, where are you staying? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, how did you get here? I said I was at the trade show in Long Beach. I went to Oceanside. My friend won the contest, and he asked me where I was going, and I had a pocket full of money. I had like $300 on me. I'm thinking I got some change. The bus ticket was like $40 or something. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, if you don't find a place to stay, you can stay with me and Mr. Hoffman. Stay at our house.
Wow.
She's like,
Generous.
but
Super nice.
yeah, she's like, but when the evening comes around, one of our main employees that works here, his name is Marcus Solomon, will introduce you, and then just see what happens, right? So this guy shows up to work. He works at the park. They introduce me. He turns out to be the coolest dude I ever met in skateboarding. Literally, like this guy's like, who are you? What do you do? What do you mean you got a sponsorship? He's like, I'm semi-sponsored by Madrid. Like, I got a ramp in my backyard. We got the Eagle Rock ramp that's right over there. We got the Baldy line. We got the Baldy pipe. You're here at Upland.
Oh, he's dialed in.
He knows everything. He's like me on the West Coast, and he's got every board. He's got these crazy luge boards, and he had long boards, and he had all sorts of stuff, and he knew everybody. And this is a funny thing. I had to remember this. Chris Ortiz was a Grom taking pictures before anyone knew who he was. He lived in that area.
Okay.
So he was friends with Marcus. So I met him.
Oh.
Hey, how you doing? Didn't know who he was. Nobody knew who anybody
He
was.
definitely
you
made a
know?
name for himself.
He certainly did.
Yeah.
So Marcus Solomon says, you could come stay with me and my dad. I live with my dad. I also live with my mom half the year. So wherever I go, you can just stay. I'll take you to punk rock shows. what spots do you want to hit? I said, I want to go to Signal Hill. We freaking drove forever to get to Signal Hill just so I could see the steepness and bomb the hill. Okay. And I decided not to bomb it because I was like, if I get hurt out here, my skateboarding career is over. And I'm older. And I'm still thinking my parents are going to be like, no more skateboarding. We're going to cut them in half and you're going to be done, right? I was the safety skater. I made sure that I didn't slam. And I wasn't the first trick guy. But I made sure that I bailed nicely and, loosely. So I taught kids how to not stiffen up when you were going to eat Crete, because, So I'm out with Marcus Solomon, and I'm thinking I'm going to live in California. And his dad lived in Pomona, if I'm getting this right. His dad was in Pomona, and his mom was in Alta Loma. And they weren't far from one another. His ramp was at his mom's house. Eagle Rock ramp was closer to his mom's place. Baldy Lion was closer to his mom's place. He takes me there. I'm checking in with my mom. She's like, you better call me. So I call her on the landline. What did you do today? I told her what I did. She's just like, what the hell are you doing? You're on government property. What do you mean? You might have had to run into the pipe if the cops came, Oh,
you're telling her
I'm
all
telling
the details?
her all the shit. Yeah, she's like, holy shit, I can't even tell your father this. Like, what do you do? Stay out of trouble. I'm like, I got it. Don't worry. It's a skateboarding. We got this. Right?
You don't understand.
You don't.
We bombed the line one day, and Marcus had a friend. I think his name was Barry. He was afraid to go fast. And he got speed wobbles, and he ate shit. Mm-hmm. And you know how high those walls are. They're like 40 foot high or whatever, 20 foot high or whatever. You're not just scaling up anywhere. You got to go to the spot where the rope is. Right. You know what I mean? To get your ass out of there. This guy hurts his leg, and he's like, I can't move it. No. We can't. So we're like, oh, my God, what are we going to do? It's getting dark. Man. We make him sit on the board, and we roll him to the first spot. And then we force him to, like, grab the rope. We're pushing him. We're like, get the fuck up here. Like, we're going to be stuck in here. We're going to leave you here, dude. Like, who gets hurt running the Baldy line, It's the most simplest thing about that whole thing. And you eat it, right, with knee pads on. And you still hurt yourself.
Sure.
Like, so we get him out of there.
Got him out.
I'm at Marcus's house. He has his girlfriend come. And I'm like feeling like I'm the third wheel, like I'm in the way. Like, have your girl here, and like I knew nobody. I had met Greg Smith, a freestyler. I met Chris Miller. I met Eric Juden, right? Mm-hmm. He was coming up in the amateur ranks in the contest. Chris Miller was ripping it, destroying it. Spidey DeMondron was there. I met him. Didn't see the Alba brothers, which was weird. I thought I would see those guys. I never seen them skate, but I've seen some BMXers. Brian Blyther was riding the pipe. I want to see Jeff Watson. Jeff Watson was in one of the Action Now magazines on the BMX bike, and he was freaking crazy. It looked like he was going 12 o'clock with his head, like pretty nuts, but really nice people. And I was like, man, it would be great if I could stay here, but I kept having this pull. You got to come back east. You got to go back east.
Sure.
It just didn't. I was missing the fall, all my friends. I had my whole crew there, I had a new crew, but, they had a different style of in time when they would skate, it was all skate park stuff, and everyone back east was skating street.
Yeah.
We didn't have parks. They had a park, so it's like if we had a park, we probably would have skated that all the time, But
the legendary photo. Right?
So you going back, I would assume that this is a turning point where you thought you were going to be living in Los Angeles where all this was happening, but something drove you back to the East Coast.
I thought I was going to be living at where a skate park was. I didn't care what town it was in. I didn't need L.A. I didn't need Long Beach.
You could have been in New Mexico. You could have been anywhere.
Anywhere.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And that was what it was about. Del Mar and Upland. That was it. Right? Cherry Hill was gone. Yeah. There was nothing else. You could find ditches all day long, but...
Yeah, but you going back to the East Coast, like...
Yeah.
Like, this is where it starts to happen.
Exactly. My mom's like, do you want me to send you money? I'm like, nah, I think I'm just going to come back. Maybe I'll come back here again. But I thanked my friend Marcus, got myself a ticket home, made it back to the East Coast. And before we started Shut, this is 1986, I graduated in 85.
Okay.
Right. So I'm out in California doing all this stuff during I guess it was the summer rolling into the fall. I stay in California and I come back at the tail end of '86, and I start making riser pads. They were like knockoff cell blocks, and I'm making them out of wood because my dad's got plenty of wood in the garage. He's got this radial arm cutter, right? And I'm cutting them out like pyramids, and I start selling these things, and they're called up pads, right? So I'm going to demos, I'm going to contests, and I'm like, all the boards in this industry are made for vert ramps. They're not made for street skating. How many boards did you break this year? I broke 5 boards this year. Big Five was loving it. They're like turning them over, right? That's the real business. That's what you
Why
want.
all these pros are making 20 grand a month.
Yeah.
Exactly. Repeat customers, and Powell, was the top brand at the time,
So you basically were making Shut out of a necessity.
Yeah, everything that we did with Shut was necessity driven.
Yeah.
Because we love skateboarding so much, and we wanted to get more skateboarding, as much skateboarding that we could possibly get,
And
without having to put a new board together.
And what was on the
Yeah.
market wasn't meeting your needs.
Wasn't meeting the needs.
Right.
I was hanging out in New York a lot more, and I was in with the best dudes in New York, and we were, traveling a bit, doing contests. I was traveling more. Surf Ohio contest. They had an amateur contest with a pro demo before they had the pro contest. You know, Mike and I went to that. Mike's mom would say, "Is Rodney going?" And he would say, "Yeah." And I'd be like, "She's like, Rodney, are you going?" "Yes, I'm going, Mrs. Vallely." "Okay, you can go." I'm like, "Mike, you're out for Powell. Like, your mom can't stop you."
What's the age
have
difference
to
between
go.
you and Mike?
It's like I think 3
3
years.
years.
There's like a 5-year difference between Dune and I, and
Okay.
3-year difference between Mike.
You
and
being
I.
the oldest.
Yeah, I'm looking like I'm older, so his mom's like, "Oh, he seems mature."
Sure,
you know?
sure. And he has got a buddy there, like everything's good. He's
Yeah,
not going
everything's cool.
solo,
She-
right.
Yeah, right. And she knows that that she feels more comfortable with that situation.
God.
You're the
Cheers.
responsible one.
Right. So we both went out to this Cow Skates contest in Dayton, Ohio. So all the Alien Workshop guys still live there. Sarge Carter, he's still there. Rob Dyrdek, right? He's the Grom, and they're all like, "This kid rips. He's like gonna win this contest."
He was
right?
killing it when he first came out. No doubt.
He was like so good on the board. Mark Heinzman, killing it. These guys are like, wow, he's on GNS, and he's definitely gonna go pro at some point. He's skating everything well. And so, cut to chase. I'm sitting. I never practice. I would go to a major contest, and I would never practice because it drove me nuts. That you're out on the course and everybody's watching one another, and then they see what you do, and then they just do your trick, and you're like, I have nothing original. Like,
Okay.
how's that going to work out for me, right? So I'm sitting it's a hockey rink, right? And I'm sitting in the first row, right next to the handrail, and Mike comes over to me and he's just like, "Rod, I don't understand. How come you're not out rolling around? How come you're not practicing?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm not showing anybody what I got." I'm like, I'm mentally putting my run together, and if I stay on my board, cool. If I don't, cool. Like, I skate for myself. I don't even skate for the sponsors at that point. So at that point, sometime earlier in the year or two or whatever, Steve Rocco's like, "I'll flow you Sims Rocco streetboards, and I'll send you wheels, and you're on Venture." Right? This is the early day Venture. This is when Mike was on Venture, when Rocco got him off a tracker, and he put him on Venture, and then before he got on Indy at Oceanside, when Fausto was like, "This is my company. You're riding for Indy, right? You're not riding for Venture, right?" So I have a Rocco board, and I'm not even thinking it's going to become anything. I don't know what's going on. We're at the contest. Mike's like, "You didn't practice," and I'm the first one up. I'm the first one to skate, right? And I'm sitting there. Mike's like, "What are you gonna do, Rod?" He's like nervous for me. He's like, "This is crazy. Like, what are you gonna do?" So I used to do this thing. It was like a boneless hand plant thing. So I would like do like a 180 boneless and plant my hand on her handrail. And I used to do it down these train station railing. Mike does the ollie. Mike ollies and then goes over. Plants the hand. I used to do boneless and go over. So I think he got that idea from me, but ollies into it. Rodney Smith, first one up. And I'm like, and I just grab my board and I just freaking do the trick over and then land and make it. And the whole place goes crazy. And Mike's like, what? So I start and I got jelly legs and I got nervous gut, but I'm landing all my stuff, right? And I don't think the style's there because the legs are working weird. Okay. But I make it through my run and I don't fall. But I break my board doing that trick. But it didn't break all the way through. It just snapped a little bit, so it was weird. I did a manual. I did a slappy. I did a rock and roll on the quarter pipe. I did a bunch of things that were easy to do. It was like a Neil Blender run, but not like a Neil trick, Just simple stuff. And I made it into the finals, right? So the finals come around. Everybody takes their run. Mike just floor it. So Mike's in this bandstand, and I do my thing. He's second, right? So he stalls like a street plant on the railing, and then drops in and makes it, and the place goes crazy again. They're like, these freaking guys from the East Coast are nuts, right? So he does this whole run, and he kills it. He ends up winning. Before they announce who wins, they're saying, we're only giving places from 1 to 8. And every other contest, CASL, CASL, every NAS, National Skateboard Association contest, East Coast, ESA, right? Everything is 1 through 10, right? Ohio contest, they're doing 1 through 8, right? So I have to have a skate off with Dyrdek. Rob Dyrdek retired me from me even thinking that I could be a sponsored skater anymore. And he's a little kid. I don't know how old he is, but he's ripping like he's a man, right? And he's like Freddie Gall used to rip like a man too. You're just like, holy shit, this kid's like 10. He's destroying it, right? So
you and Dyrdek.
Yeah. So basically, I'm like, wow, what's going on here? Like, am I still in or am I out? And then they announce, skate off, Rob Dyrdek and Rodney Smith, right? Wow. So before that, one of the judges, I'm not going to say who it is, but he says, he's like, dude, you got good scores here. Like, all you got to do is stay on your board. You don't even have to really do anything. Like, so I tried to do stuff. I fell twice, and Dyrdek didn't fall at all. So he won. So he got 1 through 8. That was the contest. Like where if you showed that you killed it at the Skate Ohio with the pro demo that went on afterward, that was where I think Tommy Guerrero's board got locked into the bench. You ever seen that scene where he's trying to pull his board out of the bench, gets stuck in there, and Nodis ollies the cow? That's that contest. So that kind of retired me, but I was already thinking about getting into the business.
Oh, really? You were already thinking?
Yeah. Because I was doing the up pads already. So,
okay.
Yeah, so I was already like, my mind was just like, I'm not going pro because that was never a thing for me. I never wanted to be pro. I just wanted to skate. Like, I'm like the skater's skater. Like, everything I did in skateboarding was for me. It wasn't for my folks. It wasn't for Dune. Dune was in my life from the time I was 5 years old. And he was barely a year old. My mom was his babysitter and became his godmother.
Oh, wow.
Became his godmother, yeah. So he grew up with all the stuff and heard all the stories, and then he got better. There's some footage of Dune when he's still like wet behind the ears, but he's trying to be like Tommy Guerrero. He's got this cool hat on. He does like this boneless tail thing. And, Mike V's doing street plants. And I'm filming, It's pretty funny. But so moving forward, I'm already thinking about being in the business. And I think it was that summer, me and the New York boys were all hanging out, and we're like, man, everybody's boards suck. Skip Englum was sponsoring Eli and a few other guys, giving them boards, right? They're riding Santa Monica Airlines boards, right? That's the sickest sponsorship, right? Jeremy Henderson's on Dogtown, and he doesn't have a pro model, but he's a pro. He was pro when he lived in England. When he was a young kid, he turned pro for Benji Boards, which is like a company that was really popular in England back in the 70s. So he turned pro, and he was a ripper. He influenced Pierre Andre. Pierre Andre got the freestyle because Jeremy was doing all sorts of stuff back in the day, like with boards that you shouldn't have been able to do that with, but he was doing it. Really great skater. And we all had sponsors, so we were all about like our California sponsors, man. Like, we're going to do it. We're going to show them that we're representing these brands like the way they want us to, right? So we all admitted that every board that we ever got, just doing acid drops or something, like the board would break eventually. And we were even trying to keep our feet over the truck bolts, everything we could to keep the boards from breaking. That just kept breaking too easily. So somebody gets a bright idea. These are deck shapes, so they're like bullets. Everything's like a bullet, the standards, and it was before anybody was really doing any real shapes, So Ollie or Worker Moore says, let's take these boards that we have and let's see if we cut them down, if they'll operate better. And we just have to land over the truck bolts. We have to keep our feet over the truck bolts when we're going to land something. But let's try to cut these down and see if we can make them like street shapes, The only street boards were the Gary Street Davis tracker board, GSD, right?
Oh, yeah.
With the eyeball on it, right? And Steve Rocco's board. Those are the only two boards that were specifically kind of like street boards. Rocco's board even said street style on it, his Sims board, So we cut these boards down, and we knew they weren't going to last. I think a week passes, and Bruno Musso gets this idea that he calls this company called Stick It Sticks. I don't know if you guys remember, but there it is. So back in the day,
I remember that one.
Back in the day, there were two companies that made blank boards. So they had pressed uncuts, and then they had pressed cut boards that were copies of the popular pro board. So they had the Tony Hawk Model A was a Tony Hawk shape, and they had the Model B was the Mike McGill shape, and then they had the, all the way to like Model F, and it was somebody else's shape, just with no graphics on it. So that was the early day middleman way of trying to get into the skateboarding industry to sell boards. So it was a company called Stick It Sticks, and they were up in Providence, Rhode Island. I think it was Providence, Rhode Island. And so Bruno calls them and says, hey, how much are your uncuts? I know you have cut shapes, but do you have uncuts? And they, sure, we have uncuts. This is the price. How many do you want? So Bruno's like, give me a box. There's 12 in a box. So he gets the boards. We go to Ollie, a Worker Moore's house in Brooklyn, right? Bed-Stuy. We go to his roof. We start making templates. We don't know what the hell we're doing, but we have some kind of idea that you make a shape out of one half, and then you fold it over, and then you get the other half, and then you try to center it. And we're kind of winging it. We've got a jigsaw. It's Ollie's mom's jigsaw, right? Some sandpaper, right? The boards are pre-drilled, these boards that we got originally. So Bruno's like, here's one for you, Rod. Here's one for you, Ollie. I got one. Wiley, here's one for you. We start making these shapes. Ollie takes a plate from his kitchen and makes a rounded tailed board. He's like, this will work good. This will be smooth. He was ahead of his time, like coming up with that idea for a shape. I don't know how, but he did. He's a smart guy. And so we cut these boards, we sand them up, we put them together, and we start skating them. We're like, all right, they're not bad, right? They're not breaking. Like, what's going on? But the concaves were weird, right? Everything was super scoopy tail, and it had no spoon nose. This was before Hell Concave, like the early H Street boards had the super steep with a curved nose, and that was what ended up being the concave for shut boards once we got to that point. But these boards that we had they had super steep tails with dog ears flapped up on the end. So it was good for vert, and that's what they were made for, but they did work a little bit better. So Bruno's like, look, Rod, let's pool our money together and start buying some more decks, right? So we order more, we cut them, and then we're like, let's start selling these so we can put that money back in. We're pretending that we're running a business, right? And I'm already in the mindset that I want to be in the business, and I'm already working for the skate shop. And Bruno worked for a company called Dream Wheels. It was a skate shop in New York City. So we knew about decks, and we knew a little bit about wholesale, retail, and what have you, But we knew nothing about manufacturing. So we're getting these blanks, but before we started buying a large sum of these blanks, we were going to machine shops. We're going to this place called Rudolph Bass. We go to this place, and it's like 10,000 square foot or more filled with these machines that could be modified to make anything, wood product, So we go there, and nobody knows anything. You know how to make skateboards? No, I have a friend who used to do it, but he died, and we don't know how to do it. So we don't know what direction to send you in. But, you know, if you buy these presses, then you can have it configured to do, I think, what you're looking to do, because this is almost the same as furniture. You're laminating plies together, right? We buy a bunch of machines. We start thinking we're going to do it. Now we have to get the resources to buy the materials, and then we're making calls, and we're like, man, it's just so much easier to get them from Stick It Sticks. So let's just keep doing that. So we keep buying boards from Stick It Sticks. They're overcharging us. We don't know it. We're hand cutting these boards the same way we did when we were on Ollie's roof. This way we get a professional drum sander. We get a professional drilling system, right? So we're doing what we can, and we're just making boards for ourselves and for our friends, right? And we're turning it over. And all of a sudden, probably the same month, a skate shop called T&F Sports, which was like bait and tackle and hunting equipment, right? And they sold skateboards, and they're in Edison and Mikestown. They call my house and they say to my mom, my name is Tony. I'm looking for Rodney. My mom's like, Tony? You don't sound like one of his friends. You sound like an old man. Like, is there something I can help you with?
What, does he owe you money? What's going on here?
If you know me, you owe me. Right? So he says, here he's making skateboards. I need to buy them. The kids are coming in here. They're driving me crazy. They say they don't want Powell or Santa Cruz. They want this. They want the what's a shut boards. I need shut boards. How many can I get? My mom's like, hold on. She calls me. I come out of the garage. We're making the boards in my garage. Fucking making a mess. We don't even have intake. We got sawdust everywhere, right? Oh, wow. We're just hacking. Me and Bruno are hacking away, eating pepperoni, hacking the board. You know, we're doing all of our shit, right? We're hooking it up, right?
What, are you snapping into a Slim Jim back then?
Exactly. The big stuff,
the big dogs, yeah.
Bruno's a real Italian.
Okay.
Well, he's half French, half Italian, but he's a real Italian. Exactly.
We're eating pepperoni, but out there.
Exactly.
Pepperoni slices.
Hey, you want a bite? Right. So
wait a minute. Really quickly, you were already calling it Shut?
Yeah, we were calling it Shut Skateboards.
Okay.
And Ollie Moore came up with that name.
Okay.
And it was basically filling in to me saying because I used to say up when I was in school, and always push the teachers to see if they would say, like, did you say shut up? I'd be like, no, I said up. That sounds like shut up. I'm like, I didn't say shut up. You just said it now. I'd be like, no, I'm saying up, right? Either way.
Okay.
Ollie thought, he's like, Shut Up and Skates was very popular. The company's Zorlak, and I was good friends with Jim Murphy, so we had plenty Shut Up and Skate stickers with the guy who looks like a politician on the sticker, says Shut Up and Skate Zorlak. So that was our way of saying it. So we started calling it Shut Skateboards, making boards for ourselves. Yeah. Conveniencing ourselves with these boards and our friends, you know.
So you put down the pepperoni, you go in. It's because your mom called you inside because the guy wanted boards.
Go in and grab the phone. Hello, this is Rodney. How can I help you? Hey, this is Tony. It's from T&F Sports in Edison. I need the skateboards. When can you get them to me? I'm like, what do you mean you need the skateboards? He's just like, I got kids coming here asking for them. How can I get these boards? They're like, we don't make boards for shops. We make boards for ourselves. He's like, what do you mean you make boards for yourselves? These kids are seeing you at demos and stuff. They say they want the boards. They're not buying Powell Peralta anymore or Santa Cruz. They want this. And I can't sell them the other stuff. Mike V starts skating for this shop, right? And Powell starts selling again. But they know Mike knows me. Mm-hmm. And however they got my number, I don't think it was from Mike. I think it might have been from Mike or George Dare, right? Because they lived in Edison too. Okay. Right? So one of them must have said, hey, call this. These guys are making boards over here, right? So as we're making boards for ourselves, all of a sudden kids just start stepping to us. Felix Arguelles, right? He's one of the first ones.
What about Chef?
Chefy came a little later.
All right.
When we were doing NSA contest in Maryland. Okay. So we met him there at Virginia Beach. Okay. I think it was the first time we met Chefy.
How many boards were you making a day when you first started?
Probably 50 a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, cranking it out all day, doing 2 shifts. Bruno would sleep. I'd go to work at the lumberyard. Bruno would be cutting boards, and I'd come back and I'd sand boards or drill boards. And then once we had all the boards done, we would take them on my back deck, and then we would spray them with spray cans. So we were doing graph boards, basically. Every board was different, right? Wiley, his 10 for you. Bruno's got 10. I've got 10. Ollie's got 10. By that time, it was just Bruno and I. And Wiley Singer was this young, I think he was probably 13 at the time, and he was barely a high school student, and he was an artist. So we had him cut the Ruby lift to make silk screens, right? So he was the local artist. So that graphic back there,
The shark one?
the eyes, those are Wiley Singer's eyes. So he would look in a mirror and then kind of make himself into. We had this graphic called the Dog Scare. Kind of looked like a Yeti or a Sasquatch, but it was his face, and he would make this with his teeth, and then he would draw it, you know.
Okay.
And then no one really knew that he was doing this, but it was really funny. So,
Are you selling these boards?
so we're spraying all the boards, and we're like, let's sell them a few, but we're selling them on the road. We're a touring team. We get Felix Arguelles, we get Barker Barry, we get Mike Kepper, we get Sean Sheffy. The list goes on, right?
Yeah,
Jeremy Henderson is riding for us, but he is still on Dogtown, but he's supporting us, and then he eventually rides for us, and we turn him.
Are you a legitimate company at this time, or are you just kind of like collecting money and then rebuying stuff?
We're just rebuying stuff because we don't know what the hell we're doing, but we're having fun. And we're touring with all these kids, and we all kind of relate, and we're all kind of close in age. Nobody was really too young, so these guys could get crazy and wild out if they wanted to, you know? And so that continued, and we'd always have kids wherever we would go. Somebody would step to us. I remember the day Billy Waldman stepped to us. Bruno and I went to the Brooklyn Banks. This is on a weekday. He's supposed to be in school, and he's like this high, and he's at the Brooklyn Banks. And we're like, what the hell's this kid doing here? Like, we're out of school, and this kid's got to still be in school. Look at the size of this kid, right? He rolls up to us. Hey, you guys, how are you? I saw you at the last ESA contest. I saw you guys. You were wearing this, and you had this, and you had these sneakers, and then he's pointing out my gear. He's pointing out Bruno's gear. You had this board. You had this board. We're like, what the hell is this kid? And he's kind of ripping, but he's a little chicken. He's got no power, right? But he's doing tricks, and he's pulling stuff off, but he just looks like a really tiny kid. And we're like, dude, where's your mom? My mom doesn't care. She says it's okay that I can roll around the city. Just don't get in trouble. We're like, you're not getting, there he is. You're not getting in trouble.
That was such a
There's
time,
Dune.
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those
What
are
is
the,
this?
What is
What is
rubber
rubber sheet?
sheet?
Yeah.
So you guys are gaining momentum because listen, there's other East Coast companies at this point, or are you? Because you were the first New York company.
we were the first New York company, but Walker had been in business for quite a few years.
Right, but you guys are making noise in New York, though.
Yeah,
Everybody's down for it.
We're making noise in the tri-state, as Felix. We're making noise in the tri-state, right? And for the most part, when we were on the road, we would sell decks for gas money, hotel money, and for food.
Okay.
And we'd come back from those trips with nothing.
Right.
We'd be empty. We might have enough to, Bruno would pull something out of his fanny pack and be like, here, Sheffy, you can get the bus and go home. You know?
Made it through the trip.
Yeah. So we did that for a while, but we started getting calls. We got calls from Soho Skates, which is the popular New York City skate shop at the time. They were calling us, but they knew Bruno and they knew me, so they were like, we need these boards. Kids are coming in here. We need them. TNF is ordering our boards. We have other shops locally trying to get our boards, but we're not making enough to go on the road to sell to kids at skate parks. And, you know, there was a couple indoor skate parks that were just these dusty old roller skating spots where they would set up ramps and stuff. And then we'd go to do demos, you know, and we'd enter contests in random places like in the Midwest, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, South Carolina. We just show up and no one would even know who the hell we were, but we would win. Like we'd have 5 dudes, 1 through 5, or we would place top 10 always, right? So we start getting calls from distributors. We want to carry your stuff, right?
Okay.
And we're like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to hang, dude. We already got a waiting list for like 6 shops. Like they're on a year waiting list to get our stuff. And what are we gonna do? So one faithful day, we're getting a late night order. It was cheaper to get your boards shipped on a weekend, like on a Sunday night, and the tractor trailer would come. The elevator was shut down in our building, so we'd have to carry the boards up the steps, right? We got to ship them the boards. We bring them upstairs. They're stained, decks this time. So we're like, these are sick. We're going to get the stained stuff. Let's open up the first box that we bring upstairs. So crack it open, slide them out, pull them apart, and a business card falls out and falls to the ground. So we're like, I pick it up, and I'm like, Marion Plywood. I'm like, this isn't Stick It Sticks. I'm like, Bruno, check this out. So Bruno takes it, and he's like, I'm going to call these guys
Somebody
out.
just sent you blanks.
It was
random.
the guys pressing him.
Okay.
Somebody put the card in there, and it falls out when we rip the, 7-ply. We rip 2 boards apart, and it flips out. So Bruno calls Stick It Sticks.
Oh, wait a minute. You ordered these boards, but the business card,
they were just
unknowingly, they had put it in there from the guys who were actually making the boards.
And Stick It Sticks reshipped just the boxes closed to us.
Gotcha.
Like they did it.
They're
right?
the middlemen.
Right. So Bruno's like, I'm going to call these guys out. So he calls them the next day, and they hang the phone up, and then they wouldn't pick the phone up after that.
Huh.
So Bruno says, we're going. I borrow my sister's car. My sister had this diesel Turbo Maxima, right? So we're going to drive up to Rhode Island. We're going to go to the factory.
Little Nissan
right?
Maxima.
Never been to the factory before.
Taking initiative
Get
here.
in the car, middle of the night, drive all the way up there, drinking coffee. We get all the way up there, and we sleep in the car. And in the morning, we see a van. It's their van, because we know the guy. His name is Doc, and him and his son had this business, but no one ever saw the insides of this business. When we got there, we tried to look in the window with flashlights. They blacked out the windows of their place, on this garage, 2 garage bay door at this building, and we had the address, right? We see the van coming in the morning. I don't know how they knew who it was. They turn around and start leaving. So Bruno's like, quick, start the car.
Sounds like a heist right
Exactly. We're chasing these guys, right?
Yeah.
Start the car, and we're drive out of there, and the father must have been stepping on it. Like, he must have, I don't even know if he knew. It could have been somebody else. He could have been scamming some, we don't even know.
Do you just think that they
right?
had a deal with these other guys for them to just distribute their shit? Or
They just weren't.
what's
They just
going on
weren't
there?
They just weren't telling the manufacturer that what they were doing.
Okay.
And they got caught. So we tried to find them. They disappeared. We don't even know what they did. They probably did like the old switch and bait and put it in reverse and back behind a billboard or something.
Off you go, right past them.
Zoom, we're going kicking
Straight out of a
diesel
movie.
smoke out of
Wow.
right. So we're like, screw it. We don't need those guys anyway. So that following Monday, because it was a Sunday, right? We call Marion Plywood. And the guy's like, who is this? What do you guys do? Where are you located? Where are you getting my product from? So we tell him, and he's just like, how much are they charging you? So we tell him, he's just like, oh my God. He's like, these guys are fully ripping you off.
Wow.
And they're ripping me off because they're making more money than I'm making. And I'm doing them a favor because I don't even make boards for industry anymore. He's like, I used to make boards for Santa Cruz. You guys know who Santa Cruz is? We're like, yeah. He's like, I had to stop making boards because I tried to make better product. They didn't want better product. They wanted the same flat, lame, no concave board so they could keep flipping product. Smart businessmen, right? But I wanted to make state-of-the-art stuff. He's like, so you're getting my blah, blah, blah. He knew the name of the concave that he was selling to Stick It Sticks. And he's like, I'm gonna do you guys a solid. What's that? He's like, I'm going to send you something and you let me know what you think of it, right? He sends us this killer spoon nose, hell concave, hard rock maple, official, the dopest glue ever.
Already shaped.
Already shaped.
Okay.
Some weird shape, but it was the same size of the current vert boards, Pull it out of the box, we're like, holy crap, like, what is this? Like, how did you make this? He's like, microwave. We microwave the plies, they soften up, then you can do crazy mold presses. 8th Street used to do it cold press. That's why their boards used to break all the time. Remember Ron Allen and Matt Hensley being like, man, we just broke a box of boards and we just went on tour. And you guys are using the same boards, they're cut up and chopped up, and they're still working for you. Like, what's going on with 8th Street? We don't even know. We got to call these guys to get another box. We're on tour. Like, what's going on? We did a multi-tour, and we had a bunch of different companies that we went on tour with, so that was interesting. But so back to what I was saying. So this guy sends us this board, and we're like, we'll order this many. How many can you send us? He's like, you got a shape? We send him the shape. He cuts them out for us. He ships them to us. And we get the boards and we're like, oh, wow, like we got something here, right? This is 88, beginning of 88, end of 87, the beginning of 1988. And World Industry was coming out with the double kick, right? And this was before Pal put out the Mike Vallely double kick, or Tony Hawk had the double kick, I think, first. And it was some weird shape or whatever, but it was Tony shape. And so we start getting these boards, and then we start getting more distributors. Cal Skate says, we want to become a distributor. And as a matter of fact, we want to help you guys. We want to invest in your business. So let us invest. We'll distribute these boards out. We'll all make money. So we're like, okay, sounds good, but we're going to need you to sign a contract. Mm-hmm. Like we already had the trademark for Shut Skateboards, you know? We need you to sign this contract. He's like, all right, I'll sign the contract, but let's just keep moving with this stuff. You guys come out here to Ohio. So we go out there, we're hanging out with them. We're meeting the family, and we meet his brother. His brother's running the distribution company, and Jimmy's assisting Alien Workshop sometime after that in the 90s. But he knows all those guys, and he's friends with everybody, and he's a skater himself. So we're just trusting him, handshake style, like Fausto said. We used to do handshake deals, and if a deal didn't work, it didn't work, you know. So we're trying to do that. We're thinking it's skateboarding. Everybody's honest, you know, no problem. So we start working with this guy. He finds us in Kokomo, Indiana, a silk screener, and it's Jeff Patch, the vert skater. It's his brother who silks as a silk screener, and he starts silk screening our boards, right, our decks. So they're coming from Wisconsin, going to Kokomo, Indiana, and then going to Ohio, and then to us for distribution, right? A lot of extra shipping going
Sounds
on.
like a long process. Then.
Yeah, a lot of extra, but it kind of worked, you know, and we were making money. So we had a couple new models. We gave Jeremy Henderson his own model. Barker was on deck, and his model finally came out. So we had 2 pro models. Jim Murphy ended up skating for us after Alva kind of fell through. I don't know what happened. I know it was Falahy owned Alva with Tony, and I don't know what happened, but he came over to us and said, hey, you got room for me? You think I can skate for you? So we gave him a model. That was at the tail end of what we were doing. But here's what happens. It's 1988. We're cranking out boards in this way, and we're getting all the distributors what they need. Jimmy George is supplying and giving everybody what they need because he's obviously got the infrastructure to do it. And we had a smaller warehouse situation. We're not making them by hand anymore. We're handling the team. The team's getting large. We're traveling around. The only way California knew who we were as a skateboard team was through Angel Coco Santiago. That's Coco's full name. Coco's grandmother lived in San Francisco. Coco would take trips every summer to San Francisco to visit his grandmother and then hang out with the SF boys. He'd be skating with everybody, right? And then he'd come back and be like, these guys are ripping. And then he'd go to San Francisco and say, I got friends back east that are nobodies, and they're ripping harder than most of these amateurs that are skating street, right? They're like, Coco, we don't believe you. There's nobody back east. We know who they are. They're Bones Brigaders. It's Miguel's from the East Coast, Mullins from the East Coast, right? Alan Gelfand, who invented the vert ollie. He's from the East Coast, right? Pal's on it already. There's nobody. He's like, you guys just watch. We're going to these contests. We're doing really well. Coco's still skating for Naked Boards, which is the other naked, unprinted board, right? Ripping.
There's Coco.
He's on the Barker board right there. Spitfires, Indy, we had the full hookup, the sponsorship, the whole 9. But before we got the whole 9, I already had the hookup. I already had the PAL hookup through Mike, and I already had the Venture hookup through Rocco. So that meant I had the Ermico hookup. So Bruno is an indie guy. Kepper was a Venture guy. Felix was an indie guy. We had some Thunder riders, you know. Before we get to that point, we're selling product, and we're doing it under the radar. And Rocco's doing Santa Monica Rocco division, right, with Skip Englum. And they can monitor Steve Rocco because he's in California. He's in Redondo. So they're like, at the end of the year, how many boards did you guys sell? How many, Dorfman, how many boards did you sell? Tracker, what do you guys have? You're doing your boards. How many did you sell? And somewhere down the line, they couldn't make the numbers work. And Fausto ended up telling us this, but we had no idea what was going on. But what ended up happening was there's a gentleman named Mike Agnew from Maryland. He had a company called Intensity Skates. He was the one that started Silver Star and Nicotine or whatever with Ricky Oyola.
Oh,
He
like
started
DC companies?
Yeah, he was the DC guy. He was the distributor. He had like 4-page mail order in Thrasher, right?
Okay.
So he had the same thing going on. He's like, man, everybody's asking for the Shut stuff. I need more of this stuff. They don't want to buy the Santa Cruz or anything else. He's like, I need more. I'm going to run my next ad, and I'm going to put Shut next to Pal, next to Santa Cruz, next to Madrid. I'm going to put Shut in there, and then I'll get more demand, but somehow or another Jimmy George is going to invest, and you guys will be able to make more boards because I'm going to have the demand, and I'm Intensity, so everybody wants stuff from me, right? He runs us in an ad. The West Coast here must have freaked out when they saw it, and we didn't know anything about it until one day we get a call from a man. We answer the phone. I answer the phone. Shut Skateboards, and he's like, "Shut Skateboards." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "This is Brad Dorfman. Have you ever heard of me before?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, Vision Skateboards. You know the company? Sure. I'm calling you because I want to buy your company. Right? He just says it flat out. Right?
Like not long talking into it. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, hold on one second. Boop. Hey, Bruno.
Get in here.
There's a guy on the line.
Drop that pepperoni, man. Come on in here.
Yeah.
He says he's Brad Dorfman and he wants to buy our company. Bruno says, "Hello, this is Bruno speaking. How can I help you?" Right? He's like, "This is Brad Dorfman. I want to buy your company." Bruno's like, well, "What do you mean you want to buy our company? I'll give you $2 million for your company." Right? We're like, Bruno pushes the whole bar. And we start
Please
cracking.
hold.
We start cracking up. We're like, he just said he wants to buy the company for $2 million. This is a hoax. There's no way anyone's going to buy our company for $2 million. We don't even make any money. Like, how are you going to buy a company that we don't make money? So Bruno's like, I got it. He gets back on. Well, if you say you want to buy our company for $2 million, we're going to keep it. We don't want to sell it. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm Brad Dorfman. You're not going to sell your company to me? At this point, he owned Schmidt Sticks. He had Paul Schmidt over. Paul Schmidt turned over their whole board manufacturing thing and made it way better because he was a quality board maker. And he wanted to buy us out. So we refused. The next day comes. One of his lackey calls. I answer the phone, and he's like, my name is, I don't remember his name. He's like, I work for Brad Dorfman. He told me he called you yesterday, and he offered to buy your company. Today, the offer is $1 million.
Went down.
Goes down. So I'm like,
by 1 million.
I hit the hold again. Hey, Bruno. Now we got a lackey on the phone. This might be real. This is a different person. And he's saying, Brad says, make this deal, but offer them $1 million now. Because these guys don't know what they're turning down, right? Bruno gets on the phone. He's like, nah, if you think it's worth $1 million, we'll keep it. Here we are, idiots. We don't know what we're doing. I'm like 19, 20, going on 20 at the time. Bruno's was 16 when we started doing Shut, and now he's like 18, right? And we don't know what the hell we're doing, but we're just having the time of our lives. And we're just supplying people with boards, and we know we got these killer boards, and we're watching these crazy feats being done on the boards by Sheffy and Barker and everybody destroying it. And everybody wants to ride for us, right? Everybody wants a board, even if they don't ride for us. Like, give me a board, I'll just ride it, and I'll just put stickers on it, So Fausto calls up a few days later, and he says, I know Coco Santiago. He's friends with my boys. I've met him. He's a great skater. And he tells us that you have a whole team of skateboarders that just crush contests. Like, that's what you guys do. You make your own boards and you travel around, but you have distributorship now. But Mike Agnew, he was supposed to ask us first before he would pull something like that. Like he put you in one of his mail order ads, and we realized that you took a small percentage of our overall deck sales, but we couldn't figure out who it was. It wasn't Rocco, because he would admit, Rocco would say, "Oh yeah, I sold 500 boards. I'm having problems, and Skip wants me to give the name back. Santa Cruz has a license with Skip." You know, either way, Fausto says, "Look." We tell him that Dorfman called us. He's like, all right, I'm not calling you to try to buy your company. I'm not even calling you to tell you I'm willing to help you with your company. I'm just interested. I don't even know how you guys did this. For a whole year, you were able to go under the radar, and nobody knew where the losses were coming from.
That's why they were all wondering the numbers before you were saying, okay.
They're running numbers, and
making
Dorfman
sense,
was going to
yeah.
buy us out before anybody else.
You think that was a
did
true
that.
offer? You think that was a true?
It was
he would
true.
have given you
It was
$2 million.
Yeah, he might not have given us $2 million, but Fausto said, I spoke to him, and he told me that he tried to buy you.
Wow.
So I'm calling you and telling you I'm amazed that you're working out of New York City, and you're distributing boards out of New York, and you have distributors wanting more of your product. And I had to call them to know, because nobody was like offering up the information. Oh, we got this new brand and it does better than your brand. Like, that wasn't what was going on, right? So Fausto says, look, I want to help you guys out however I can, you know? At that point, we had editorial through Club Homeboy. You know, we had Spike, Lou, and Andy Jenkins came to New York, and we took them on tour in a van to all of our skate spots, and then they put us in Club Homeboy magazine. So everybody in Cali, in the BMX world, and the skate world were like, oh, what? Look at this spot. Who are these guys?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Starting to get
You know?
recognition.
Got recognition. We weren't running any ads, so we were still under the radar. Nobody knew how we were becoming more popular. We beat 2 Z skaters in the Midwest, and then it got back through George Wilson. He was just like, well, my guys just came back and said these crazy kids, like, that just destroyed them. Like, they were doing all sorts of crazy stuff.
Right.
Like, what's going on here? And so Fausto, we stay in contact. We befriend him. We go to a trade show. We go to San Francisco after the trade show. It's Phoenix Am. And our guy wins. Brian Blake wins, amateur, right? And we're like on cloud 9. Like, nothing can put the fire out, right? We're like burning. We go to SF, and Dune's there with Jay Lee, and they're doing their new company, and they're doing it under Deluxe, right?
Stereo.
And yeah, Jeff Clint is there. We meet Jeff, and then we're like getting familiar. And Fausto's like, give them a bag, let them go in the back and get whatever they want. We stock our bags with stuff. We come out. They're like, you guys are going to be a part of the family, because Coco's down with us. And we meet Keith Cochran. But we met Keith prior to that. Keith came to the East Coast. I forget why he came to the East Coast, but he came to the East Coast and stayed at my house while we were still making boards in a garage. So he went back and was like, these guys have got something going on. I don't know what they're doing over there. I don't know if they're going to flop or not, but it looks kind of crazy. But apparently people are asking for them. And that's all anybody knew, you know? So
I love that you guys are just doing your thing, having fun, but you're making all these waves that are carrying all the way across to California and disrupting what they're doing under the radar. It's fascinating.
they had a
dude.
disliking
I love
of
that.
they had a disliking of Cal Skates, because Jimmy George was a little snotty-nosed, spoiled kid who was like, they were like, you know, we have to sell to this guy, but we hate this guy. He keeps trying to start companies, and he keeps copying our shapes, and he's like trying to tell people when he's distributing to retailers, our stuff's better. And I'm like, no, your stuff's not better. It's not better than Powell. What are you talking about? It's not better than anybody's stuff, you know? So he was a little shady. Things started getting shadier. He caught wind, somehow or another, that Dorfman called us, tried to buy us, and whoever called Jimmy George, he must have said, and they said they're going to do the deal. That's not true. Okay. So Jimmy George calls us and curses Bruno and I out. We put him on speakerphone, boop, and he's just like, you this and that and that and this and boop and boop and boop. And he's just like, and Bruno's like, yeah. He's like, you still haven't signed the deal, and we're not doing a deal with anybody. We're like, how come you're not listening to us? He's just like, I know you're doing this deal. I know. I'm going to sue you guys. Poof, hangs the phone up. We get a cease and desist in the mail from his attorney, and we give it to our attorney, who's this older, decrepit guy, and he's doing work for us for free. I've never seen one of these before.
Oh my
He's
God.
like, you guys better stop making boards, or it's gonna be serious, and you might not win. We're like, we got the trademark. He's like, I got to look into this. And he's taken months to get to it. And we stop distributing.
Yeah.
But Jimmy George continues to manufacture and tells all the distributors, everything's fine. AWH, Eastern, everything's fine. South Shore, everything's fine. Keep buying.
He's manufacturing your boards.
Yeah, he's manufacturing our boards.
What year is this?
This is 89, 90.
Okay.
And he's doing all this stuff while we're cease and desist. And we're not distributing. He's not shipping us anything, and we're not getting anything direct from the manufacturers after they go to the silk screeners in Indiana. We're not getting anything. We're just sitting there cold, thinking like, we better not do this because our attorney said so. We should have got a second opinion, but we didn't, right?
Wait, so you're selling your products?
Yeah, selling our product because we had a verbal deal that he was going to be our investor, and that he was also investing in Bill Danforth's company that he had started with Bill. So we go out there. He's like, "Oh, I made these rails. Come to the rail factory." And I made these rails. We're like, "Dude, you're not supposed to make anything without asking us first." He's just like, "Oh, you guys don't care. You just run the team. I'll do this part."
He's not. Is he cutting you guys a check?
He's not cutting us anything. He's just supporting the team by giving us money for gas and hotels. And he's like, eat all you want, get all the food you want, come out here and stay here as long as you want, whatever. Use my car, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Oh, yeah, 'cause he's raking it in.
Yeah. So he's
It's
raking
not
it
an even
in.
exchange,
Right.
Right. So he's raking it in. And Bruno received a phone call from this guy's dad. And the dad says, I just want to call you and tell you that the rest of the family is not agreeing with what he's doing. But he wouldn't tell us what he was doing. He thought maybe we knew, but he didn't want to rat his son out. Jimmy George was adopted, you know. Rest in peace. The guy had a bad motorcycle accident and he died. But he was this guy most of his life. And his father knew that Bruno and I came from good families and that we were good people and that we wouldn't do anything. And he was trying to warn us, right?
Okay.
So, so basically, we stopped distributing product. Jimmy George continued to distribute product. And then a whole year later, I get a call from Tony at AWH. And he's like, Rodney, can I speak to you in confidence? I'm like, sure. So he's like, we heard that you guys are in some kind of legal battle. But we continued to buy product from Jimmy George and sell it because we have a demand for it. So we didn't want to lose these sales. So I'm sorry to say this to you, but I think other distributors are doing the same thing. So I call Eastern, and Reggie was our first distributor of Shut product. Reggie, you guys still selling stuff? Yeah, Jimmy says it was okay. That was no big deal, that he was going to work it out with you guys. And we just kept selling because we have a demand for the stuff, right? So once we found out, we had our attorney send Jimmy George a letter, and then you're a cease and desist now, right? We finally got it to him. So Jimmy stopped. But we tallied up. We got all the orders that were ordered from all the distributors. It's like 10,000 boards. It was a lot of money. And accessories and everything.
Sure.
And so a whole year went by with no sales of Shut product while we sorted it out, you know. And then court says, oh, you guys have the trademark, so, and this guy never signed a contract, so on you don't get anything. You're out of the picture.
A year's already gone by.
Year's already gone.
It's already damage is done.
Damage is done. Double kicks are in. Rocco's got double kick. Other people are starting to do double kick, right? Concaves. And so Bruno is bummed. Our team starts getting picked off by the industry, of course.
Probably West Coast companies too.
Of course. They're like, these guys are wide open. They're like, yeah, I'm wide open. We've been waiting for something to happen, and it's too long. I can't wait anymore. So we lost all of our riders. Barker held on the longest. Jeremy held on for the longest. Everybody else left. And then Bruno was like, I don't even want to do this anymore. Like, I can't believe our brothers left us.
Right.
It wasn't like a grilled chocolate. You know, it was more like a ragtag and, you know, shooting from the hip. Hopefully we hit the target. And we didn't hit the target. So
yeah, but I mean, can you blame them for
No.
leaving though? Like
I
you
would've-
guys were stalled out.
I would have left
Yeah.
too. I would have
Yeah.
left too. And that's where
Yeah.
I stood. Each one of them came to us and said, and Bruno was just like, "Duh," and I'm like, don't worry, man. I understand.
Bruno's the man.
Yeah. like,
Love Bruno.
Love
Musso.
Bruno too.
He's a great dude.
He's a heartfelt guy.
Yeah.
He puts it all out there, and so did I. But he was so discouraged because it happened, and I was like, shit happens. But I,
Yeah.
you know, so 1992 rolls around. This is 91. No board sold. 1992 rolls around. We get told, you guys have the trademark, so you can do whatever you want. And I'm like, and I'm gonna bring this back. I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna do this. Watch this. So I call our Japanese distributor, and I'm like, this is the deal. I'm like, yes, we're back in business. I say, how many boards would you order if I put an order in for all you distributors, U.S., Japan? As many as you can get me. As many as you can get me. Okay. He's like, what's your problem? What's your predicament? I'm like, we don't have any money. He's like, how much do you need? I say, how about 10 grand? Sure. I'll send it to you. They wire it. It goes into our bank account. 10 grand. It's in there the next day, right? I go to Bruno's house. His mom would always say, go in and get him out of that room. You guys still have a company. Get him out of there. So I go in and I say, Bruno, I just got 10 grand from Japan. Let's make boards again. What? He snaps out of it. Boom. We get back into action. We're trying to make the 10 grand work. I should have asked for 20, right? But I was not.
It did sound a little low, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I had to just get something.
Yeah.
Right? And then we had, I think, 30 days with the mill. And then we had 90 days with the silk screener because we were the only ones they silk screen for, you know. So we make boards, and then we're torn. I'm like, we need to make double kick. And Bruno's like, I hate double kick. I'm like, what do you mean you hate double kick? He's like, I don't want double kick. I want spoon nose. I'm like, dude, nobody's doing spoon
This
nose
is
anymore.
92?
Yeah, this is
It's
like
coming in.
It's gone, man. It's like gone already. You know.
Yeah.
I'm like, you saw the Tony Hawk PAL deck. You saw the world industry. We see the world industry stuff like Santa Monica Airlines or whatever, and we had to combine it. I was like, we need a little bit more flip, and then we need a little bit more of a spoon. You know, the rail. It's got to be spooned a little bit, and then decent tail but flatter tail. You know, and then we didn't have enough money to get the boards silk screen. We couldn't do that 90 day with the silk screener. So
They wouldn't give you a 90-day buffer to pay?
they would have, but we were pretending that we had more money than we did, right? So we didn't want to lie to them because they were been so cool to us, you know. So we called Graphics Labs, which they made stickers. They're known. Well, Graphics Labs makes sticker packs for motocross bikes now. That's like their big business, but they still make stickers. So we call them and we say, how big of a sticker can you make for us, right? So we put stickers on these blank boards with these concaves in these shapes. We get the graphic guys together. They come up with the graphics, send it to the sticker guys. They make us these big stickers, and we slap them on all the boards. And then we sell them to the distributors. And the distributors say,
What the
they're not
hell
selling.
is this?
yeah, they're not selling. Where's the full double kick? Everybody's doing full double kick. What are you guys doing? And I remember getting the phone call from Red Dog when he was still doing Dogtown
Jim Muir.
with Deluxe
Uh-huh.
up in SF. He says, are you guys doing this double kick thing? Are you going to do it? And I'm like, I think we should do it. And Bruno's like, I don't want to do it. So it didn't work.
But did you get the team back at any point?
No, we still had the opportunity with Barker and Jeremy. Jeremy's like, I'll hang around, and because I don't need a sponsorship. That's not what I really do now. But I like being pro with you guys. Barker,
Sounds to me like you were leaning on Japan just to try to get it going again, but it's not working though.
No, it wasn't working, and then we started feeling like Japan said they don't want the money back.
Oh.
We just want you to go for it. We wanted you to try, and we got your back. We love Shut. The country loves Shut. But, you guys have been out of the game for a little while. So
Right.
So we put it to bed.
Yeah.
And, we didn't let anybody know we put it to bed. We moved our 1,500 square foot space to the basement, 2 sub-basement. It's down in a 500 square foot spot. That's where we tried to pull it off. It didn't work. I was living in that space, trying to make phone calls, and it was weird. So we put it to bed. And then in 93, I come up with an idea to start something new because I'm like, can't leave that window open. The window's wide open. Somebody's going to eat our lunch. And we just built up the East Coast and showed that you could actually do it. And everybody knows that, we're not like these. We're not Pal Peralta.
You could take the knowledge that you've already gained to start a new thing.
Right. So, Bruno, are you in? No, I'm not in.
Oh.
I'm out. He got out of skate. Totally. Damn. Jeremy's like, you gonna do something new, bro? And I'm like, I have to, man. It's my responsibility. Like, this company wasn't just Bruno and I. This company wasn't just all the original guys, which were about like 8 people that were originally talking to do Shut in the early days.
Sure.
And then they bowed out because they didn't want to put the work in. I was like, but it wasn't just us. This is like national and international. Like, this is how it actually worked because kids understood. If you lived in Europe, you could relate to the East Coast of the United States easier than you could California because they got cold weather too, right? Japan, cold weather. All these places that got cold weather, it's, oh man, we got to go out and bundle up, go skate somewhere, And we made it look easy, but it wasn't. And so I call Eli Gesner. Eli, I was thinking of starting a new company. What? Really? I'm like, yes, thinking of starting a new company. Do you want in? I'm in. So we start meeting. He's doing Fat Farm with Russell Simmons at the moment, at that moment. And we take a few meetings. I go to his house. He's like, you got to get out of your apartment, dude. Like, you're going back to bike messenger. I was a bike messenger for that whole year that we weren't selling Shut Skateboards. And I could keep my rent, but he's like, I got a whole room. My mom just moved out. I have a whole room. Just come and move in here and we'll camp out and we'll set it all up here, right? Move in with Eli. I truck all my stuff to his house, most of my stuff, on a skateboard, cross Central Park. He lived on the other side of Central Park, right? So I move with him. We're putting things together. I'm like, Eli, who do you know? You know anybody who can invest? I have all the connections to get the product made. I just need finance. That took almost a year to get the finance. So he introduced me to this guy, to that guy, and then I had some other people introduce me to some people. I'm like, I really like the idea, and I know what you guys had done in the past, but I'm just not sure yet. Just come back. We'll take another meeting. There was one guy in particular who was really interested, and I would go back and take meetings with him every week. We'd take a meeting. And then one day, I get a call from Fausto. And he says, I hear someone through the grapevine that you're starting a new company. He's like, I might be interested. You might be interested? Wow. He's like, I'm going to be coming to New York. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll look you up when I get there, right? We weren't in the warehouse space. No cell phones. I didn't even have a beeper, right? He had no way to contact me. He comes to New York City, and he's with Craig Stesick 3, right? And we're in the NYU area. We're doing wall rides on this building, right? He comes walking up, Craig Stesick. Hey, Rodney, I've been looking for you, man. I'm like, holy crap. He's like, I'm staying here at this hotel. Come up and see me. Let's talk, right? I go up there. He's like, I got to ask my wife. I want to do this, but I have to ask my wife first, right? He's like, she's not going to let me do it. Then I can't do it. But I'm going to help you however I can. So I tell Eli this, and he's like, I got one more guy for you to talk to. He's the office manager for Fat Farm here, and he might be interested. So I get introduced to Adam Schatz. I go to his house, take a meeting. He's like, I'm doing it, man. I got you. What do we need? So I had this rinky proposal.
Was the name already solidified yet, or?
I had people against the name. I had people for the name. And my plan was this with Zoo York. Pay homage to the soul artist of Zoo York, right? We had Zoo York models under Shut, right? And we were friendly with Jamie Afamato, who was a vert skater who we knew for years, amazing guy. And he was one of the soul artists, one of the last skaters on the soul artists. And then there was Andy Kessler. Andy Kessler was opposed to me using the name, but what we did was, as soon as I got the finance set, we put the trademark request in. And the week that we put the trademark request in, Zoo York Records existed for 10 years. And that trademark ended that week that we put the trademark in, and we get a call back from the trademark office. Okay, we're going to get you all set up, and then we're going to need you to sign some paperwork. And we're like, yes. And they're like, it just ended 2 days ago.
And you had no idea?
We no idea, dude. So I'm like, somebody's looking out for us, right?
Are they still in business?
Yeah, it's still in business. It's a weird situation,
Okay.
but it's still in business. It's a terrific name.
Yeah.
A no-fail name, but you want to know where it's the most popular? Chile.
Chile.
Yeah, kill it. They kill it in Chile, in New York. And they do it like we used to do it.
Wow.
We met all these people international when we got brought back to the public company that owns it, that bought it from Ecko.
Yeah.
So we did a private deal with Ecko, and then Ecko sold to a public company. Iconics Brand Group, it's called.
Yeah.
Right. But they brought you back like
they brought
not
us
too
back,
long ago.
Yeah, recently they brought us back before C-19.
Sure.
Right? So we were back there and things were coming along, but it was tough, you know.
Wait a minute, before we move forward though, can we keep on this trajectory though about when you started Zoo York?
Absolutely. I just had a friend tell me that I ramble.
No. Well, I mean, we're like this is like amazing right now.
So we get the investment. Adam says, how much do you need? I say $60,000. So he's like, gotcha. He's like, you sure that's enough? I'm like, maybe not. He's like, well, if we need more, I'll put it in later.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Find an office space. We're in the meatpacking district in Manhattan. We get the space. I live in the space. I'm taking all the calls. I'm feeding the fax machine. We're still doing fax machine. We're getting orders in the middle of the night. We're getting orders during the day. But when we first started, I had said to Adam and Eli, we're going to become partners, but I don't want to be the manufacturer. We need a third-party manufacturer, so I'm going to find that for us.
Okay.
Right? So a week later, I get a call from a good friend of ours, and he says, hey, I know of a guy in Long Island that you should meet. And I say, yeah, where is he? He's like, well, one of my friends on Long Island called me and said, you should tell these guys to call this guy. So I do. It's Greg Chapman. So Greg Chapman is working out of this factory. I forget what this factory made, but he had this little corner in a factory, and he's got a press, and he's making boards for himself. Chapman number 9 skateboards, I think was his first brand name. Take the train out to Long Island. I meet with Greg. I go to his house. He's a hometown boy. His family is amazing. He's a great person. Why don't you stay over? Tell me more about the Shut thing. I know all about it. This is crazy. I can't believe you're here at my house. Like, what can I do for you? But we'll get to that later. Just keep telling me more. We have dinner. I have dinner with the whole family. I stay over his house. It's like we're back in high school or something, right? We're talking constantly talking about things. And then I finally say to him, I need you to make my skateboards. He's just like, I can't. How am I going to make your skateboards? I got one press. I'm like, believe me, I'll give you the means to make my skateboards. He's like, what do you mean? I gave him a check. And he's like, dude, I can't take this. I'm like, yes, you can. Just take it. Think about it. If you want to do it, I need you to be my manufacturer.
What was the check for?
Check was prepay.
Oh,
for
prepay.
boards.
Okay.
Whenever you can make them. So you
How
telling
much?
me you telling me you only have one press? Make as many as you can with the one press, right? I think I gave him $10,000.
That was my
just
guess.
like it gotta make him feel like this
Yeah.
guy's serious, like he wants me to really do this, right?
Here's
I think it was that. Greg would know the story better than I do, but
Okay.
I can steal this story because it was me.
Yeah.
So he contacts me back and says, "All right, I'm gonna go for it." He's like, "I hope you're patient. I hope you can wait because I can't crank a lot out." So he sends me a batch of boards. We come up with a shape, and Barker Barrett and I were still communicating. And I said, "Barker, I'm starting this new company. Do you want to ride for me?" And he's just like, "Yeah, man, I'm kind of riding Santa Cruz right now, but there's no chance that they're going to give me a pro model anytime soon, even though I had one with Shut." So we had a barcode graphic, and it said Barker Barrett under it with like our area code. And it was an all white board, and it was kind of a squarish nose. It was a great board. Concave was good. So I go to the trade show, and I bring these boards with me, and I see Fausto at the trade show. He's like, "Let me see what you got." And he's still thinking about getting involved, but I'm being patient. Even though I had the investor, I'm thinking Fausto's going to get involved somehow or another because he's still calling me, right?
Not a
So,
bad guy to have in your corner either.
I had no idea, though. Just had no idea because he's so humble. Like, he's not like Dorfman. Sorry to rag on Dorfman, but like, "I want to buy your company." He's just like regular dude, right?
Sure.
So he looks at my boards and he's just like, "Oh, the boards look good. Concaves look good. Nose and tail look good. The holes look straight. You got a little shrinkage going on here. Your guy doesn't know that he has to let the boards dry completely before he cuts them. Because if you cut them prior to them completely curing up, the plies start to shift a little bit, and then you get ripples on the side." He's like, "So that's it. Everything else looks great." So I tell Greg, he's like, "I know, I rushed them because you needed them. You were going to this trade show. I thought they would be okay, but they cure it up while you're on the plane." Or whatever,
It's only a couple boards though, right? It wasn't like a whole.
It was like five boards.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So he's got the money. I can pay my rent. I'm taking $300 a month to run the whole thing. Adam and Eli are still working their day jobs, right? Eli's working at night, but he's doing his day job. And I run this whole operation for 2 years. I need an assistant. So I bring in an assistant, and it didn't work out. And I won't say this person's name. I love this guy. He's one of my favorite skaters. He's one of the coolest dudes that I met. We really got along, but when it came to business stuff, he just really wasn't cut out for it, or cut out for what I wanted him to do, and he obliged to do it, and it didn't work out. So the third year that we were in business, Adam and Eli came to run the business with me. And by that time, Greg had gotten another press, and he was able to press more boards, and we were able to supply distributors, and then everything just started catching on. Ivan Perez, remember Ivan Perez? Ivan Perez was to be the first pro with New York. And he got into a little predicament, and I said, "I don't have the money to help you. Like, you get yourself out, it's still up to you, and I'll give you the board. You're no name."
Into like a problem, like
Yeah, he got into some issues, and then he like called me, and he's like, "You got to help me." I'm like, I can't. Like,
he puts you in a predicament.
Right.
yeah, like, I'm ready to give you boards, and I've already given you product, and I'm willing to give you more, and I'm willing to give you a chance. Ryan Hickey,
Yeah.
pro model.
How quickly are you guys moving at this point? Like, are after a year, 2 years, are you starting to make waves like pretty quickly?
Yeah, it's really kind of chugging along, and I'm amazed that it's we trademarked in '93. By '96, full steam ahead.
Yeah.
Just like,
the logo, the look, and we had Eli Gesner on the show, and he was just saying like how he was laying out the ads, and everything was different. It had its own vibe. It had this New York flavor, which was like hitting,
There's nothing else like that out there. Yeah.
No, at that time, it was very powerful. That's for sure.
all intention, that we were going to pull this off.
Right.
That we knew we had something.
100%.
And we had the support from the East Coast. I mean, everybody was behind it,
Definitely.
And they knew what happened with our deal. I got tired of telling that story. People were like, "What happened?"
You're like, all right, sit down. I got a story for you.
I remember Bruno and I had a conversation with Paul Schmidt, and Paul was telling us his woes about being with Vision, and we had our woes. We were both at the same trade show. We were just like, oh, sob stories, but move on. Things are.
Yeah, every company has woes. It's
Yeah,
just how it works.
Yeah, it's true.
So you said by '96, full steam ahead.
Full steam ahead, no turning back. Pick riders coming to us the same way that we'd also have recommendations like Peter Beastie said, I got this kid, you should check this kid out. We got this person.
You guys making money? You guys
started
killing it at that.
Started making
point?
money.
Okay.
Paying the pros. They were making making money per board sale. And doing tours, bringing skaters to trade shows, taking side trips to San Francisco.
You mentioned Peter Beastie.
moving
Shout
around.
out to him, bro. He was a great guy.
Shout out to all of those guys. He's a beautiful soul too.
He really is, man.
All these guys are doing their best to be human on this planet and make their way. And I also want to put an apology out there to anybody who ever felt that they weren't able to get a fair shake, because this was a family operation. This was a family affair. And I went in with New York with that mindset because of what the Soul Artists did, how they influenced hip hop in New York City, and how they influenced me, and they were cool with us doing New York models, paying tribute to what those graffiti heads were doing, and they all rode skateboards back then too, and
At one time or another, for sure.
so very interesting that it was all coming together. I think it was getting support, and Mark Edmonds, who is the gentleman who coined the phrase, his tag name is Ali, and he coined the phrase New York, basically, and the whole crew, Hayes and Zephyr and everybody else, Crunch, everybody else that was a part of that crew, they looked at Mark. He was like the leader, basically, and he was also a Latin Afro-Cuban singer. Like, he had a band, and I think there was a combination between New York Records and what he was doing. But the New York name was owned by this guy who owned this record company, right? But they were trying to put this whole thing together, and he used to do community service, and they were really supportive of neighborhoods and trying to prop people up and bring up their morale. And Graph was starting to get a little bit bigger, and the whole MTV thing when that all came in. But they kind of dispersed. A lot of the graffiti crews kind of dispersed and went independent, and start like Hayes was really popular here in California for a long time. Futura's crushing it now, and
Yes, he is.
so it's good to my intentions are always correct. I never tried to. I'm not that guy. I don't know how to be malicious or or be disrespectful. I just, because it's do unto others as you want unto yourself. I'm like, I hold that dear to my heart. So when I say I love people, I mean that's what I'm doing here. I'm here for the people, which in turn I'm here for myself. So to be connected with all people, to have to have the ability to grow up the way I did in the town that I grew up with, the diversity in it. I mean, I saw so many different things. I never had any real issues or problems with racism or anything like that. And I think it was due to where I grew up, because the mix, my dad had the mix. He had Vietnam vet friends, and they wanted my dad to be a cop. They wanted my dad to be a fireman because he was that type of guy, My mom and my dad represented the extended family better than most, because they were always the ones helping the underdogs or people having issues and problems, drinking problems, going to jail. My dad would go visit his friends in jail and say, you gotta get it together. You don't want to be here, you'd rather be out here. And so I brought all that in through my life. I try to instill that in people and get them to understand. And then while I was doing that, while the Mike V's were learning and getting things from me, he was getting and learning things on his own. And then he was passing it on and, continuing where we came from, and the importance of that, being able to instill the next generations of skaters with what they would need to really feel secure in the skateboarding culture. Like, this culture is freaking incredible. Like, people just don't get it. They just don't understand. Like, we got everybody. Like, I'm like, did you see the Vans commercial? What, I forget homie's name, but I'm like, he's an amputee. He doesn't have legs, and he's crushing the rail. Like, come on, like where else do you see stuff like this? You don't, right? You just don't.
Community is amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, and it's been that way for a very long time. And, you know, just when you think that you've seen it all, you haven't seen it all. And they're still upping the tricks, and they're still doing the next, and somebody's doing this now. I'm like, oh my God. I can't believe it. Like, I've been around this culture and sport for so long. I cannot believe that they're still upping it.
Yeah,
they're still,
bro. It's crazy, right? It really is.
Felipe Nunez.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's
Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's pure passion right there,
That
man.
is beyond.
Mhm.
Is that John Comer? Oh, no, that's him.
No,
that's
it's Felipe Nunez, yeah.
Wow.
He's from Brazil. Skates
Yeah.
for Birdhouse
Of course.
as well.
Of course, Brazil. Those guys are a hungry bunch.
They bleed,
Yeah.
they bleed passion out there all day.
So Zoo York's pumping. You guys are doing well. Everything's cylinders are firing. Boom, boom, boom. You got a team. I mean, you guys are killing it, right? 2001 comes along. Just like history repeats itself, right? Somebody offers to buy the company. And what happened right there? Let's talk about that. That's
Okay.
interesting.
So our situation was a little different. It was a little different than Giant Distribution. Remember when they sold their whole operation? When Rocco and Mullen sold their whole operation, they went out to sell it.
Okay.
They didn't need to sell it, right? We got into a situation that we got the monster got a little big and the cage couldn't hold it anymore. And it burst out of the cage, and then we had chain shackles keeping it from leaving the location. And we needed help. So we got strategic. And I immediately said, I'm going to call Fausto. And I didn't get support with that.
Okay.
We can do this on our own. We don't need to go to the industry. We'll just do this, right?
Internally, you didn't get support.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. I'm like, all right. It's 3 partners, so, you know, if there's one disagreeing or 2 disagreeing, then it goes where it's supposed to go.
Sure.
So we come up with the bright idea. We need some sort of partnership potential with somebody. And this is like the God's honest truth, because people thought that we had such a big thing going on that now they're just playing that card, you know, and others have done it and others have made out big with that. But what I was doing was saving all of my people, everybody that was with us that brought it to where it was. They raised families, they had kids while they were with us, you know. And it was actually 2000 that this was happening.
Okay.
And we were...
So this was like a year-long process at least.
Yeah, like putting it together, and we gave it the chance to see if something would come from presenting a concept and idea of what we might be able to do on a collaboration basis with somebody.
So
you know?
you're not at this point you weren't looking to sell the whole thing. You just needed help. You needed an influx of money. You needed a partner. You needed a fourth partner.
Right.
Need
So
a loan.
yeah, so we had a couple opportunities, but we were like, we're gonna need more. So this is what we did.
Okay.
Be straight honest with
Yeah.
you.
Go ahead.
We're like working with Japan.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great situation, and it could grow and expand to something big, and be able to support our whole infrastructure,
Okay.
our people, and everything, and keep ourselves going for as long as we could. That company got bought out, so things changed with them. So our deal changed, right? And there's nothing they could do about it. So they gave us the offer that they had available at the time, and we decided to take. Okay, so they had. I'm just going to throw out a number. They had like a 35-piece line, and they were showing private trade shows in Japan.
Move the
And
microphone a
and-
little bit. Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, there you go. There you go.
And we're it's so funny because I'm not a singer, so I watch Mike. He's right.
It's right up in it, yeah.
Yeah, like so.
35-piece lines.
So we say, let's take this 35-piece line and go to ASR. right?
Okay.
So we're like,
What's the difference though between this year and last year? Like, what was the line looking like last year?
so say we had like a 10-piece line, and we were really only.
Okay, so this
say
is-
this is
this is a big bump.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
gigantic, but we're like 10-piece line. We were only able to provide 6 pieces. Right?
Showing 10, delivering 6.
Right. So this is
Wow.
I'm just throwing numbers around.
Sure,
right?
sure.
It could be, but it's in and around what I'm
Okay.
guesstimating.
Yep.
So it's 35-piece line. We go to the trade show, and we get people coming from out of the woodwork. They're just like, take it. Give me this many. And then the next guy, and then the next person, and the next company, and the next country. We'll take it. We got it. We got this. Go back to the hotel, tally it all up, and we're like, oh, we don't even have the money to manufacture it. And are we going to let all these customers down? We're out of business. We're out of business.
Totally.
That's like some people would say that's a good problem, but it's not a good problem if your infrastructure is not in your country. Like, we couldn't rely on the Japanese because we brought their stuff that looked like American stuff, killer materials and cool designs and stuff, and we didn't think people would like half of it, but they pretty much did like most of it. And the orders came in, and we're like, we can't. We're not gonna be able.
But
to
that's
handle
like
this.
proof in the pudding. Like, you got orders, so you just go to somebody that got some money and be like, hey,
Yeah, like finance these orders.
Yeah,
your
have
money's
the
coming
proof-
back to you.
and
Yeah.
the proof that it's there.
Can I ask you a
Yeah.
quick question? Why did you guys jump from 10 delivering 6 to 30, whatever the number was? Why? If you knew in your heart of hearts that you probably couldn't, I mean, you just wanted to see what would happen. Like, what was the underlying thing of doing that?
There was another situation that happened with one of our apparel connections.
Okay.
They had internal issues that they had to deal with.
Okay.
And it caused them to basically go out of business. So that was our hookup for the Japanese situation, and that was our hookup for supplying us for national and international sales of sweatshirts and t-shirts, basic stuff, not cut and sew and none of the good stuff, right? So I don't remember all of the order that it all went in, but we were in a situation where we needed some assistance.
Okay.
And we put out a professional proposal, and I still to this day believe that if I had went to Fausto, I think something probably could have come of that, because those guys, they got resources that we didn't have, I'm sure.
For sure.
Yeah, but different coasts, though.
Totally.
It could have been difficult,
Of course, and
logistic-wise.
In the distribution through them proved to be a little bit difficult when we were working with Clint, like when he was still there, and we put the distribution thing together. And obviously, if you're a distribution company, you want to sell to anybody in the U.S. If you're a U.S. distributor, somebody orders from the East Coast, but that was the deal. Don't send it back to the East Coast because we're still trying to keep our end of the deal going with our people.
Right.
So don't be selling over here because Eastern's got theirs, and they're not stepping on our toes, and we're not stepping on their toes, and we don't want you to step. And they were getting the sales because Jeff Clint was a go-getter. He's just like, I'm gonna make the sales, man. I'm a businessman. I know how to do this. This is what you do. So
from the beginning, you guys had territories that you guys would stick to and they would stick to, but then they started to go outside of that.
yeah, well, they started coming back to where we send it to them, and they're sending it back to our people. They're like, oh, we got this from Deluxe. I'm like,
Wow.
you're not supposed to get it from Deluxe.
Yeah.
Jeff, what are you doing? What do you mean, Rod? Come on. Just trying to make sales. Like, it's all right. I'm like, it's not, because we need to be able to pay our bills over here,
stepping on our toes.
We're not trying to go in the Midwest. We're not trying to take 80 Racia's business and go direct to their retailers, nor are we coming to the West Coast and
Right.
trying to, So it didn't
It's
really...
a distribution game.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's all about sales. So we were still wet behind the ears, thinking like, oh yeah, it's honor. You're supposed to honor these deals that are made. Handshake are on paper, and the handshake thing, that was a joke because no one should be doing that. But even if
Anybody out there listening, no
Yeah.
handshake deals. Get
but-
it on paper.
but even if you get it on paper, whatever, and even if you don't have it on paper, whatever, court system. Depends
Sure.
on how good the attorneys are and the firm that
paperwork.
you're using.
Yeah,
you
based
know?
on your paperwork.
How did Ecko come into play?
So we were in a position that we weren't seeing or receiving any response from people that we had been friendly with and worked with and collaborated with. We weren't getting anything. It wasn't coming fast enough. We'll just say it like that.
Okay.
Right. And I'm out. I don't remember where I was. I was skating, going from A to B, and I see a friend of ours who's he's in the business of making pajamas and panties and things, right?
Mhm.
He's in the apparel industry. So he sees me on the street. Rod, what's happening, man? How you doing? How's business going? You guys are killing it, right? You're ripping it. And I got this weird look on my face. He's just like, what's wrong? So I say, you know, we're in a little bit of a jam right now. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. He's like, how? I'm like, let me sit you down. Tell him the story. He's like, all right. So we part ways. He calls me the next day, and he says, I think I have somebody that might be interested in what you guys got going on. So let me tell you a really interesting story. Ecko, they were using different sports categories to promote their clothing. And they had like a drifter guy, and they had the motocross dudes, Mike Metzger, you know, and they needed the skateboard representation. So somebody in their organization says, why don't we just hire skaters to come here and we'll just shoot them in the clothes? So they call Jeff Pang, and they say, hey, Jeff, the skater who works for Ecko. Hey, Jeff, we want to hire you guys, and we'll pick up all you guys in limos. Even Robbie Gangemi in Boston. We'll pick him up in a limo and drive him all the way to New York. What?
What?
Kind of money?
They got Ecko back then. I mean, they were
Yeah,
another
yeah.
level.
They were doing their thing.
Another level. So they get our whole team to their office in New Jersey, and they're getting them in clothes, and they're shooting them and doing the whole thing. And then at the end of the photo shoot, one of the Ecko representatives comes up to Jeff and says, are you guys ready to ride for a real company? Like, we want you to come over and do this, right? And Jeff's like, okay. We'll get back to you. He gets back to the office. He immediately comes in. He's like, this dude's just trying to buy us, right? This is before we do this deal with them, right? Like 2 years before. Right?
Oh, this is okay.
Yeah. So I say, Jeff, how did it go? And he's just like, it went all right. I'm like, yeah. He's like, they picked everybody up in limos, even Gangemi. I was like, word? They picked Gangemi up from Boston? He was like, yep. And he's like, and they want us to ride for them. I just had to tell you because it made me feel weird.
This is your whole team.
Yeah,
this is Zoo York.
This is the whole thing. This is the heart of Zoo York Company, right? So,
But that outside entity don't know how to approach. Like, first of all, it's hard to approach anybody and being like trying to steal their whole team. But like, they're just trying to use their money and their impact on what they're doing at the moment to try to manipulate these kids.
They were flaunting.
Yeah,
Limos from
Yeah.
Boston, New York? That's fucking nuts.
so I lose it.
as you should.
Fuming. Jeff, give me the number.
You call
Rod,
them.
what are you going to do? Jeff, just give me the number. All right, here. I call up. I speak to the president. And I say, it's Rodney Smith calling from New York City. And I speak to somebody who was responsible or, in charge of the photo shoot that just went on with my skaters that I didn't know about. Like I tried to use that as a way to just get somebody on the phone. So to put the president on the phone, he's like, hello, And I go, let me ask you a question. I'm told that you're basically trying to like take my skateboarding team. Like you're starting a skateboard company and you're trying to take my team. And I know guys that work for you. I know 4 people that work for you. I've known them for years. And I don't know what you're all talking about over there. I was like, but you don't have me coming over to your place stealing people that you're paying and that they're part of your marketing and they're part of your whole thing. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Is that what I should do to you? Come on, man. Nobody really said that. And I was like, yes, you did. I'm like, because the person who told me that you said it is very honest and he loves this company that he was with and he's grown with us. So, how do I handle this? Oh man, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So we get off the phone. So 2 years later, my friend says, I know somebody that could help you.
Just so happens.
Yeah, and I'm like, are you serious? I'm like,
wow.
Man, I don't.
Hey, always take the meeting, huh?
Well, now they want to buy you.
Exactly. So he says this, and Adam looks at me and he's just like, and Eli's like, oh, you kidding me? Really? So we're like, all right, let's just take the meeting. And let's see what they have to say.
Sure.
So we basically had to fill them in on what we were trying to do. We're trying to house this monster that we built. And we're not experts in apparel. And the company that we were working with is no longer around, so we don't have that assistance the way we once did that help us get to, we had like Calvin Klein t-shirts once where we got the crazy hookups and we had the best shirts, and the riders were, these are sick, So they said, let's just keep talking. So we kept talking, and then we finally took a meeting, and it came down to the 12th hour, and they were just like, you're going to eat shit or get off the pot, or this deal's not going to happen. And I was like, you know what? I don't even want the deal to happen. I'll take this other deal. It's for less, and we'll still be in a situation where we'll do our best to try to keep it going. But everybody wasn't feeling it. We had other people involved that were investors and like attorneys that were our friends and family members and different people that were invested in it. And they said that they think this is the best deal for us right now because we got into such a jam that this would be a way for us to get ourselves out and underway, keep the company going, everyone can keep their jobs. So we fought for the riders and we fought for the employees, and we had a bunch of people working for us in sales and design and all that stuff. A lot on the line. A lot on the line. So I said, okay, let's keep talking, and we made the deal.
Can I ask you, I don't know how much you could disclose about the deal, but was it a full sale, or was it like a percentage, or was it like help? Because initially you were looking for a fourth partner.
Yeah.
But I think it turned more in, it went above and beyond that, right?
It initially started out as a partnership.
Sure.
We started a new LLC.
Oh.
We operated under that LLC.
Okay.
It had a time limit, and we had goals to meet. Sales-wise, and if we didn't meet the goals, then the deal would look like this. And if we made the goals, then it was positive and would look like this.
Parameters, milestones, all that stuff.
Heard of these deals before.
Yeah.
So, at this point in time, did you feel like you were giving away or letting go of giving away or selling your company? How did you feel?
We had a very intelligent corporate attorney laid down for us. This is what the playing field looks like.
Okay.
This way
good
or
to
this
have.
way.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So if they like you, then it could look like this.
Oh.
And if they don't like you and they don't need you, then it could look like this. And we watched that.
You wanted to meet those milestones, because that pot at the end of the rainbow was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right?
We had, I remember being in Japan having communication with our representatives there, and they were like, "These guys are amazing. They want New York Hello Kitty." We were like, "We'll take all of it." Like we're like, because it's always dope. Like every single thing we do, as long as it has this New York thing pegged to it,
sure,
on some New York City tish, everybody's down, right? But we still had a little ways to go, but things were happening that weren't in our control. So we made this deal, and we did the best we could, but we were actually kind of separated. It was no longer like Eli, Adam, and Rodney doing this and then making the decisions for things. Somebody else was making the decisions. So we were in the meat packing district before it became the real popular meat packing district that it is to this day. Everybody's like, oh yeah, the overhead track scene, and they got condos and there's all sorts of stuff. The real estate's amazing. We got moved out of our warehouse space and office space. We got moved out. We got moved to 48th Street in Midtown. We had to go to the apparel, but it was closer to their offices, so they were like, eh. So we didn't have any say on anything, and everything just started happening, and we didn't get any buco deals on the way out. We got our investors paid back, so that saved face.
Yeah.
For us, we hooked our people up that were waiting for us. Every single time we would have a couple years under our belt, they'd be like, "Don't worry about it. Just keep it going. We don't even need it back. You guys are sailing right now, so we're confident, and we didn't invest that much anyway. So what can come in the tail end might be better. It wasn't better. It was just what they initially invested. They took it because there was no other choice.
But you guys got a good deal out of the whole thing, no?
It was a good deal for the people that we fought for.
You guys yourselves as the owners didn't get like a big, because you guys left eventually. I mean, you guys didn't get like a big.
It's like a back against the wall deal.
This is so amazing that we're talking about this again. It was back against the wall, same amount that we were paying ourselves when we owned the company ourselves.
Yeah.
You have the chance if you meet those goals and milestones.
Right. Yes.
On the back end.
Yeah.
But you got to wait. No marketing budget. Marketing budget's gone. We just got you this office.
They were
supposed to do this?
They were sabotaging, no?
They're smart. They knew what they were doing.
Totally.
If I was down with them and I was a part of their company and I knew what our goals were, I would be going for those goals.
That is
all my homies that work for them.
But realistic goals, not something that's going to be like they're setting you up for failure.
Right.
Yeah. It was.
Especially with no marketing budgets and taking all those things away to kind of cripple you to not be able to do those things.
Yeah.
They were smart. And our corporate attorney told us.
Yeah.
I stepped forward to one of the representatives, one of the original founders, when we were at their attorney's office. No food, no water. Make this deal now. Starve them out.
Not even a charcuterie board?
No, at least some pepperoni. Jeez, bring the pepperoni bag.
Water. Yeah, give me some water. But parch over here.
What do they gain out of that, of having you guys not there? I don't understand why they would.
It's a takeover.
I know, but dude.
Big companies, I don't even think they understand.
They don't.
They don't understand skateboarding at all. And that's why they think that they could come in, buy these companies, and then they wonder why they file for bankruptcy.
Yes.
They had some close family that were real skaters that worked for them. And they were people I know. They were my homies, basically.
But when you get that big, is it possible, though?
And if that company does good, everyone does good, then they do good. So why wouldn't you want the company to do good and set it up right?
Well, they wanted to take it over. That's the hostile takeover.
Yeah. So they kept us around, and I think because I stood up for my beliefs.
Sure.
And I stood up for our people's belief from a different standpoint, not just paperwork, and not just people that invested. That of course, I wanted to get them something. I wanted everyone to get what they needed, and I was willing to see if we could get to that back end. They gave me the opportunity to get to the back end.
Right.
Because I stood up for myself in a different way.
Okay.
Like I was literally boisterous about what I believed and what I realized that I wanted for others, but I could take what you're going to offer me, but I'm willing to wait, but don't play me. Right? And the only thing I could get from not allowing myself to be played was to leave. That's what I ended up doing.
Right.
They never asked me to go, and they didn't force me out, and I could potentially have still been there to this day.
I'm guessing this was when We're coming upon the mass exodus of the riders of Zoo York. They went over to Aesthetics. Sal brought everybody over there.
Because Sal's already over at Zoo for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It was very interesting how it all went down. And I don't want to take their sides of the story, but they had Mirko
Yes.
and Sal.
Right.
And we had Greg Lucci at the time. They hired Greg Lucci to do some design stuff. And they wanted Greg to do as they said. But Greg Lucci says, I know what's going on here. So you and I are going to agree on what I'm going to do. And you're going to tell me whether you dig it or not. And then we're going to present that. So we did it. And it was like kind of like a rush. But it was good. And then they did it. And they were like, don't try that again, or you won't be working for us, Mr. Lucci. You know? He's like, Rod, they just read me the riot act.
Wow.
You know? But we went for it.
Totally.
You know? And I stepped, they had an international meeting. This is another situation, international meeting. And I don't think they thought that I knew. And I liked the new president that they brought in. They had a president for Zoo York. Got along. Really liked the person. One of the original founders of Ecko. So I was like, all right, it's interesting. So they had this international meeting, and I roll into the office. I had keys to the office, so I roll into the office at 6 a.m, and I'm waiting because I knew it was going to go down. And all international starts showing up. They're early. They're always early.
You got your popcorn ready. You're good. You're good.
I'm
Huh?
like, hey, you know, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a long time. Come on in. 2 showrooms, full with everything, ready to go. Super pro. Great office. My office is the first one you see when you come down the stairwell. I'm right over there. So I get there. I'm sitting down with them. And I'm like, look, this is the deal. I'm not going to be in this meeting. What do you mean you're not going to be in this meeting? What are you talking about? I'm just like, I can't say anything. I'm not going to be in this meeting. Because I'm not invited to be in this meeting. What do you mean? We thought this was the thing. We thought you guys did this. We had 2 options. Our corporate attorney told us it could look like this or it could look like that. And it's kind of looking like that. So, you know, that's it. That's what it is. So what they kept doing was eliminating our distributors and bringing in their own. Because they had all the countries covered already. So they're like, drop these guys, bring these guys in. They left Australia alone. Our dude Mike Vallely, he killed it in Australia, crushed it, you know, in Australia with Zoo that whole time. And then he bailed. He's like, I'm out now. You guys aren't there. I'm out.
Yeah, but these are like clothing distributors, though, right? They're not skate distributors.
The skateboards are still doing well. They brought this aesthetics team in, and then it was a bummer to see like Clyde not work out for him and for, you know, a couple others eventually. But they brought the whole squad in, and Sal was, you know, doing his thing, and I was trying to be supportive, but I brought Sal in, and I was just like, they're bringing in the other black guy with the bald head. I'm like, just drop you in. He's just like, that ain't it, Rod. Come on, Rod. You know, Sal, come on, Rod. That's not. I'm like, Sal, it is, bro. I can see it. It's not your fault. There's nothing you're doing wrong. Like, and I'm agreeing. And I want it because we still have Zarin and we still have Jeff.
Yeah.
And then something happened. Somebody said something to Jeff. I don't know who said it, but Jeff was fuming. He was pissed at me. He was so angry. Got to this blowout argument. And one of the office managers had to come running down the hallway. You guys cut it out.
Oh,
like we were literally there. It was like they were like playing games, like dropping in seeds and and we didn't realize it until I realized it afterward. But I lost my mind, went into the team room and started punching doors off of the lockers, blowing my hand up, just boom, and they heard me in there raging and flipping the couch over, throwing lockers down, boom, you know, like they're like, now we got him. We can just say he's crazy. Get him out of here if we want, you know. But I'm like punching these lockers and literally they're coming off. I'm breaking the soldering on the thing. Like, yeah, like I'm just like the Hulk, right? And I go back to my office, close the door, close the shade, and I'm just sitting there like breathing. And then I hear Jeff get up from his office, which was right next to mine, and he goes into the team room and he's standing there and he goes, damn. Right? And he goes back to his office. And then he comes in the next day and he's like, Rod, someone said that you were trying to take my job. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? I was like, you do your job. I don't do yours. I do what I do. If someone told me that they were trying to replace you for me, I might be angry too, but I would speak to you. He didn't want to hear me, and I tried to rattle his desk, like, dude, like, cut it out, like, boom, And he was just like, no, and Jeff, Jeff. So I was like, I love you, man.
He's very passionate.
Totally. I love you, man. Like, it was weird for him and whatever, and all went down, and then we got over it, and then everything turned into what it was supposed to be.
Now, is that the Ecko team sprinkling all this little, sauce to kind of make it disruptive for you?
Yeah,
guys?
whoever was on their team and wherever it came from the inside.
Okay.
And, whatever tactics they were going to use, we were told.
So crazy.
We had the opportunity to say we don't want to do the deal, But you know what? And then I started hearing, when you sell a company, that's like an honor. It's like a real thing. It's like you could sell a company, and that means that you had something that somebody wanted. And that's what happens when you're corporate America,
Right.
Or corporate anywhere. Like, if that's what it is, no matter what your situation was, that's okay. Because you played the cards the best you could, and you realized that it wasn't necessarily going to turn out the way you want it, and it was the other option that your corporate attorney told you. So you should have just buckled down and prepared yourself. But what they let me do was they let me run a program that I basically said, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to bring, because this is what I started before we did this deal with you. And they let me have it. I had freestyle motocross guys. I had snowboarders. I had snowboarders that were real skaters. So we ran a skate ad with the snowboarders. So we had Mark Frank Montoya doing like a frontside air where J2 did a layback grind on a mini ramp.
Yeah, he
So
snowboarded for DVS.
Yeah.
I was on some trips with him.
All right. So I was keeping it cool. And then we had the opportunity to go big and get somebody big. And we were going to talk to Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle's like a skater.
Wow.
Like, he's like a dude, like a real skater. And they were just like,
Amazing.
we were like, and Eli's like, I got that connection. Like, I can get to that guy, and then we'll see if we can do something. And it was right at a time where it could have really happened, I think before was whatever the station, the Comic Central or whatever, before it blew up, before he blew up.
Yep.
And they're like, no, we got better ideas. So we're like, all right, what is it? So they waited to tell us, and then they already pretty much were making a deal, and we got Ashton Kutcher.
Hey.
Okay.
He's way better than Dave Chappelle. Come on.
He don't
Come on,
skate.
guys.
I wasn't
Ashton
expecting that.
Kutcher.
He's a popular dude, but he don't skate.
I mean, when was this, like, Punked was going on at this point in time?
You got that right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be cooperative. This could be dope. We'll get Ashton Kutcher, and we'll punk him.
Okay.
We'll be sponsored, and we'll punk him, right? So I was like, we can have Harold Hunter roll into a restaurant where him and Demi are having dinner. We could have Harold roll up with a mask on, just grip his chicken and run out, chicken, and like do some things,
Imagine.
and then we can have Ashton Kutcher playing stickball with some kids in Little Italy or something, and just keep. All right, do it again. Shoot it again. Just keep him swinging. Like,
So you had ideas.
striking out. And I was like, we could do this. They're like, nah, we got this. Right?
And this is what they came up with.
Yeah, we went to one photo shoot, and they paid him a hefty sum, and then that was more of the budget that didn't go in our direction. So it's,
Eli and Adam are still in the building right now as we're talking about this.
we're in the Shut building. Yeah, we're all still in.
You guys are separated.
We're
now.
still all
You're
in the
separate
shop.
from the Zoo York building.
Yeah, once the vid-19
Yeah.
happened, that deal was off the table.
But wait a minute. But that's when they brought you guys back.
Yeah, they brought us back, and then
Well, I'm talking about before when you guys were doing Ash. Oh wait, when was the Ashton Kutcher thing?
that was like 2003.
Okay,
maybe?
so
Something like
but
that.
Eli and Adam are still in the building with you at this point at Zoo York when you guys are doing this shit.
When we were doing that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Wait, whose decision was to get Ashton though?
Somebody on the inside.
Yeah, I just
Guess they had a connection. I was
yeah.
like, the punk thing is cool because we can just punk him. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
nothing better than that.
Nah,
Like,
yeah, you can parlay and try to use it that way for sure.
When did you? When did you guys just were like, okay, we're out, we're done?
so I had a new baby. I had a mortgage payment, and I had a wife, and I was being as responsible as I possibly could, but it was driving me crazy being this guy.
The guy on the side, like
See you, distributors that have been
Oh.
with us the whole time and brought us to.
you
this
didn't want to
point.
abandon anybody.
Yeah.
Nah, I was like, why does it have to be that? And it wasn't enough and satisfying enough for me to do the program that they let me do. It was fun, and it was rad, and it made sense for Zoo if bringing on riders from different disciplines of activities could fit because they were skaters, or they like skateboarding. But so I'll let everybody else have their own story. But I stayed, I think maybe 3 more years, and then I came up with the idea to start Shut Over again. So I was like, I'll start Shut Over again. I'll go to them because I had a rapport.
This is like 06.
Yeah, I was literally riding motocross with one of the original founders and hanging with my crew that was still there. I grew up with a bunch of these guys, and one of them sold plenty of shutboards back in the day from his retail store. These are people that I knew for quite some time. And so I took the meeting, and I said, I'm thinking about doing this. I would like you to get my back on this. And, this could mean something for you because we could own the space with more than just one brand. Their whole focus was just on Zurich. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. And I said, sorry, we don't really want to participate with what you're talking about.
This
And
is Ecko.
yeah, so then I said, all right, so I'm thinking of going. They said, well, if you go, we'll just send you off with the rest of your year's salary and peace. So I was like, all right.
They owned all the equity at this point.
Yeah, it had turned over,
Okay.
and we were more or less kind of employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, this is how it can go. I had the confidence. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to start this over. I'm going to do this. Watch this. You'll see.
Listen, you did have a good run though with the Shut.
Yeah.
You opened a store in New York. It was 10 years. You
Yeah,
had a good run.
It was a good run, and
And I bet it was fun just getting back to the roots again.
Oh, absolutely. And to be able to have those things that are really important to the culture,
Yeah.
more than just the business side. But what's interesting is the changing of the guard, whole industry changing, and the ability for ciphers, crews to have their own group. And I sell this many boards with my college money. Like I didn't go to college, and I put it to this board company. So another board company here. I remember being visiting Dune, and I remember one of his guys that works with him and Jason with Stereo. We were at a skate park somewhere, and I stopped for a minute, and I was thinking that it's got to be like 300. I was a bedroom company. My whole concept and idea was that we're selling out of the back of the trunk. That's a bedroom company, right? So I'm saying to myself, these guys, they got this. They're doing it, what we used to do, right? And they're cool with whatever they're doing, and they have careers, and they work, and it's totally fine, and they want to be in the business. And skateboarding is always open for creativity and whatever it is that you think you want to do and participate and bring to the whole of it all, And I was like, yeah, it's got to be like 300 bedroom companies or whatever. And Dune's man said to me, try 600. He's like, I already went through this process to see how many, So unless you're a marketing machine and have been around since the 70s and you know how to diversify and recreate yourself like a Pal Peralta or Santa Cruz, because my whole concept with the Ecko thing was to be like Santa Cruz. I'm like, because we toyed with making snowboards and they were some of the best boards ever, but it never really took off. And I was racing downhill mountain bikes, and I was riding motocross with my crew. I was back to what I do, and still going snowboarding and had J2 and Mark Frank Montoya, and had the whole snowboard crew saying like, it's sick. Our boys are riding for New York. That's nuts. You know what I mean? Like, how cool is that? And whatever. And I was making like Santa Cruz, but their whole idea was we have our companies, and now we brought your company into the fold, and we're planning on doing a public thing or whatever.
They seemed to me like they just wanted another brand, but they were just going to run it the same way they're running Ecko. They didn't want anything new.
Yeah, they thought New York was phenomenal. They loved it. They said, we're really about the name.
To them, it's their clothing brand, and I feel like they just had their. This is outsider looking in, just what you're telling me, but I feel like they were just like, we're just interested in the clothing.
That's pretty much what it was. They knew the core product was wallpaper, basically. No margin on it. And they understood that.
Right.
We had to understand it because we did understand that because we had a little bit of a time with moving some apparel.
Yeah.
And I was shocked that we didn't get any calls back, but I realized that people were like, wow, these guys are on the edge. Like some of the ads that we were running, like we did the sniper ad. I think it was BC and Pang with on the roof with the BB guns, It's just like, what are these guys saying? Right. And then the Arabic writing, lettering and saying, whatever. And like, what are they saying? It was interesting. Like we were so cutting edge doing all sorts of stuff. We would approve it. Everybody on the team loved it.
Were you guys just stirring the pot?
Oh, always.
Yeah.
And keeping it going. But I think we looked too hard for anybody to be like, call him back. Like, don't call him back. We can't do what these guys do.
What was your thought of the whole mixtape video? That was pretty insane for back then.
Yeah, that was another era and time with New York that all the cards were on the table and we were about to win the lottery, and all at the right place at the right time, but at the right place and at the right time much earlier than New York actually getting its bearings. Things were like already lined up, and I remember us thinking, man, these guys are going to just, I wasn't saying this. I was just like, I'm just ready to have a conversation with these boys. I'm just down for these guys, and I'm ready to communicate with them. And they're going to have to understand. But they all loved it. I remember Harold coming in. I saw old dirty bastard last night. And he was like, "You that nigga." And Harold was like, "You not." You know what I mean? He's like,
"No, you are."
we grew up the same. Ghetto kid with the cards and the, because he had his, his.
What is it? The food stamp, the food stamp card or whatever.
Yeah. And so, because Old Dirty was one of the guys with the crew, so he probably went back and be like, "I saw her," Harold Hunter.
That is amazing.
That video was way ahead of its time, almost. Like, as much as that perfect era was for it, like the classic. It's a classic New York skateboarding and classic music.
Yeah,
it's like a special time.
The music was right in that, on point.
It was perfectly lined. It was like beautiful, and I think people knew about it, but I wish people could see it because then it got taken down because of like music rights. Or I remember Vinny Ponte said he saw someone Diamond D was like, "Oh, we used you in the thing." He's like, "What?" I don't remember knowing about this.
Yeah, I think if it happened much later, and
I think it was later.
The reason why it was all usable and probably still could have been prevented or stopped was because the Stretch and Bobbito show.
Yeah.
So these guys didn't have record deals yet. So they went to the Stretch and Barbito show, and Eli went with the high 8 camera because they would call him, "Yo, Eli, come down and film. This guy's coming tonight.
That's where you had
Busta
all that
Rhymes
footage.
coming tonight. This guy, yeah." So they were like, "Okay, sign off because we need that we can do whatever we want with this because we're blowing you up." We blew them up too. you know? It was classy, and Eli did it and him and RB, they did it so smooth and so classy, and the only thing we got crap for is that it took a while to get the footage from all the skaters. So they're like, it's old. That one's old. We're like, there's nothing old about this because it's these dudes skating to these guys, and it just looks nuts. It's just sick.
Yeah.
It's
amazing.
Shout out to RB Malley, man.
Yeah.
Yes, bro.
Legend out there in the NY.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, we've been through a lot, man. If there was, I don't know, like skating's a hard business. Let's just be honest, right?
A lot of passion in there, but it's
a lot of it's for the culture.
Rob, what kind of advice can you give somebody bedroom brands?
I'm just kind of going to ask the same thing. Like, what would you?
I would say stick to your guns, believe in what you're doing, and have a purpose. Because it will eventually catch up to you. If there's 600, if this is like, I don't even remember how many years ago. It was quite a few years ago. If there were 600 back then,
I think that it's even being generous.
That's true, but if you think about the distribution through retail. Mike V's a genius. He's like record stores, pizza shops. He's like, Rod, they're selling my stuff. I was like, Mike, that's perfect. That's amazing. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that because when I was purchasing from retail stores, they were bike shops, hobby shops, hardware stores, grocery stores sold plastic boards at one point. Yeah. It's like if you don't know the complete past, then you shouldn't down the present and where it is and how things can shift and change. And as Mike's going to real skaters, they go to pizza shops, they go to record stores. It only makes sense. And I was so proud of him. I was like, man, you went for it. It was something that I thought, is there another distributor? But you look at the main distributors now. You know who they are. You have the shops that have been around for a long time, but then for the majority of mom and pops that used to exist, that doesn't exist anymore. And we know where it's coming out of. And when I remember hearing those original deals being made for our deluxe companies and everyone else that are in those stores that happen to be mostly in malls, right? I was just like, wow. They didn't have anywhere else to go. Like there was nothing else that could be done. Like you couldn't support a mom and pops all over the United States you couldn't make a deal with them. I think there was a period of time where people couldn't pay their bills. And then when Nike came in, Nike was shutting people down because they couldn't pay their bills.
Yeah, they were making them take the mad shoes.
Exactly. And I was like, man, this is wild. But I always knew that was going to be the thing. And I would always say to people, keep your eyes open wide, because Nike's participation and Adidas, their participation in the skateboard culture gives it. I just read an article recently, and they're saying multi-billion-dollar industry. That's what they say.
Skateboarding.
Yeah.
Because
where's
all that money going?
So I'm saying,
where's it coming from? I don't know. Where's this $1 billion? Where's this multi-bill? Where?
It's not just the skating, dude. It's like that's built across into like mainstream shit almost.
All of it, but it's definitely footwear. We know the markup on footwear, so it's good. I like that Nike came in.
What about podcasts? Where are we at with it?
Where are your shoes? Can you see your shoes in the podcast?
I'm about to put them up right here on the table.
Yeah, it's interesting. The lots of changes, and I was always the guy trying to hold on. I'm like, there's room for all of it, but when you there's a generation of kids that are interested in the history of skateboarding, and then there's a generation who think the history started in the late 90s.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Think about 20 years passing or what have you, and you're just getting started with it, and you see things that, John Cardiel, or that still his name is still getting out there. He was doing stuff, still moving and shaking in it. But, new goals are set and new marks are made, and people are making attempts to be relevant. And if you're doing a bedroom company, go for it. Be as relevant as you possibly can,
Look at this, bro. U.S. skateboard market. 2020, 1 billion. 2021, 1.1 billion. 2022, there's no number there, but it's going up.
Roger,
it's going
good.
up. 23, 24, street boards, cruiser boards, long boards, park boards. So this is what we all need. This is what we need to sell.
So this is what I knew was going to happen once it got introduced to the Olympics.
No, the 9 Club, we're going to be selling cruiser boards, long boards, park boards, hybrid boards, others, street boards. We're going to get a piece of this market there.
Once it made it to the Olympics, that opens up the door to a whole new family.
Yeah, but
and there's no turning back.
Yep.
Like our boys over at Thrasher, Evan Sterling's telling me, we're a brand, Rod, we're a brand now. Damn. It's like, wow. I get it. I know what you're saying.
They've been a brand for a while now.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know, and they were like, I was like, all right, you're diversifying, you're keeping yourself going. I believe, I hear you. I'm behind you, and the rag is keeping it all sutured together from the core. When people say core, it means this. When people say sell out, I always would tell people, you can't say anybody sold out, because unless you own your own forest and you're cutting your own trees down, unless you're pulling the ore from the ground and melting it down to make trucks, unless you're getting that derivative of crude oil coming from the ground and you're making your own urethane, the whole thing is like a business. Sell out.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no way to not.
And
So
sometimes you can't help what people like. If they like that and it happens to not be the norm and it's skateboarding, that's what it is, So skateboarding is very impactful in many different ways. So I don't know. It's
very interesting, but you just be smart about what I just said. If you know this and you still want to get involved, just know what's coming your direction. And impermanence is a permanent aspect of human living.
I do think that the one reason why there's a lot of skateboard companies too is skateboarders are just creative people, and like building a brand is just an extension of being creative. It's coming up with the business plan. It's coming up with the boards. It's just exactly what you did in the garage with Bruno Musso, shaping the boards. Like that's what skaters do.
Do it
So
yourself.
I understand that. I just think it is saturated. It's flooded,
I used to
But I get it.
I used to say to my Nike friends, I used to say, Brad Staba, Escape Mental, that's Nike. No, it's not. It's not. I'm like, but it is. Even if you're not funding it, I'm like, and that's okay. I just want people to realize that these types of things could happen. You could come in with the type of money that big behemoths have. They could come in and just swoop it all up.
Oh, 100%.
And I have a friend who always gives me the backstories to tennis, back when everyone was still using wooden rackets, and then when they switched, to different materials and start playing around with bigger size rackets and all this stuff, and the people who try to hold out, being paid to hold out, everybody's got skin in the game. It's like, this amount of wood is going to tennis every year, and we already committed to this, and now these guys are trying to bring this one in. Don't let McEnroe go. Don't let this guy go. It's not ready yet. And then finally it just goes all the way over. And that's like just synthetic boards, hybrid or synthetic. And my friend's like, we got to be able to do it. I'm like, man, it's a big commitment, and you got to own your corner, and you got to have the right people to say that this is it. It's no different than double kick, and it's but there's still something magic about wood. It just is like, and I love how Paul Schmidt breaks it down and shows what it looks like under a microscope.
Yeah.
And then it gives you more of an understanding of flex and pop, and when the pop's gone and you can't get it back, and you know what you're really working with. But you know, a lot of things have to shift and change in order for us to, you know.
It's interesting, but you know what? We all love it, man. That's why we're sitting here.
That's right. We're always gonna love it. Even if it goes to. I remember when it was synthetic. The company Kryptonics had synthetic boards, and then they had hybrid boards. You know, and they had Mickey Alba and Steve Abel representing it. You know, and nobody was complaining then. I remember Dogtown had their hybrid stuff back in the late '70s, and people started bringing it in. The Shogo Kubo board, you know, it was rad. Everybody wanted to buy the board. It was sick. Nobody was complaining about it and saying anything, but there was no ollie. You know, think about one trick would change the whole thing.
Oh,
basically. You know, like, wow.
How crazy is that?
It's nuts, right?
Think about that.
One trick.
One thing
Yeah.
changed everything in an industry.
Yeah.
Incredible that can happen. But
It's a beautiful thing, man.
it is, man. It's magic change. Always, you know, like I said, impermanence is constant. The only constant is change. You know, it's always, you know. But yeah, I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying watching how people are managing, you know, in all aspects of life. You
Right.
know?
Right.
And you know, I always tell people, and in the end, it's always still gonna be okay. I'm like, you gotta at least, hey, I was the guy. I had to do the placebo, so just know you can do the same, right? There's nothing wrong with it. Right, if it makes your life more manageable, and it makes you feel more good within it, go right ahead. Nobody can tell you you're not allowed to do that. You know.
True.
Yeah, that's true. In this industry, for sure.
Got that.
Yeah.
You got that right. So,
Are you still in New York now, or?
I'm the national guy. I could be anywhere.
He's
Anytime.
here, he's there, he's everywhere.
I live in the
Yeah.
United States, yeah.
Yeah, I was just moving around, putting some things together in a national way, and preparing some things for the potential of something that I'm putting together with some really important people, and it's all coming together. And it's just a matter if the playing field allows it to be able to come to full fruition.
So
know?
what you're telling us is we have not seen the last of Rodney
We
Smith.
have not. No. Mystery guy is back.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed every second of your stories, and I'm going to tell you right now, that door is always open. Come back here anytime, because we could talk for hours and hours and hours,
No doubt.
and I'd love to do it again and again and again.
We shall, and I appreciate it, and much gratitude and appreciation to have me on this show, man.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is
dude.
it's a big one. This is one of those, and this could be going on for many years to come.
Thank you. Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
We'll be picky on who our partners are, okay? if we're looking
Straight.
I'm just kidding.
Got Jimmy George on line one.
Jimmy's online. Pick it up. We have some nine club stuff. Can we give it to you? Do you have room in your suitcase to take
Absolutely.
it back wherever your travels take you?
Absolutely.
Kelly, we do the honors, bro.
What size?
Large.
Large?
Yeah, I have some treats for you guys. Too.
What?
Hey,
Rodney
yeah.
Smith, you don't have to do that.
Sure, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, these
Let's
are.
see it. What do we
this
got?
is- let me tell you something. This is the first time that I've done some artistry, some artesian stuff
Okay.
in California for California homies.
What are we looking? What
That's
are we
good.
working with right here?
Let's see what pops out of here first.
He's got a whole bag
I
underneath
see
there.
that.
Put one of these.
A little surprise.
He's got some.
All right.
Okay, look at
So
this. He's
I
got
ga-
the shirt.
I gave you guys a little taste of the old school, how we used to do it, and how we created a frenzy. Right?
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. Look at that. Oh, he's got the old
Hey.
shut.
Yeah,
Wait,
that's
this is
the
the old.
Wait, he
that's
did
one of
this.
those-
He did this.
That's one of the
Oh,
old.
this is a
old
this is-
No,
OG.
it's the original.
No, this I made these for you, but this is one of the
Yes.
original designs from
Amazing.
from back when, and it's
Okay.
it's got the graph rough edge to it. You
I
know,
love it, bro.
got all 4 of you
Thank
guys.
Oh, you got everybody?
Thank you, dude. That's
I
tight.
think I got everybody.
Okay, look at this, Rodney
Appreciate
Smith. Let's hold him up for the camera though. The camera's got to see the.
Got a little overspray
There
on
you go,
it.
Tim. Look
I
at
like
this
the
right
overspray.
here.
Is that a large? Let me see if that's a large. That is a large.
Who did the original Shut logo? Was that you?
No, we actually have a bunch of really talented friends. We actually used to do compilation work too. Like we'd have 3 guys working on one graphic, or 4 guys, or
Okay.
one final guy working on something, and then we add it all in, and everybody was friends with one another, so it always worked out, you know.
But then when the Zoo York came around, it was pretty much Eli
Yep.
because he was the artist.
He's mastermind.
Yeah.
With all that.
Look at that. Thank you for these shirts,
Yeah,
man. I
thank you,
appreciate
dude.
that, dude.
Welcome.
Look at that, man. We're gonna put these on eBay, man. See how much we can get for them.
Yeah,
Just
do
kidding.
it, man. Do it. I want you to do it.
No, we're gonna rock
it.
these, bro.
Yeah,
this
this
is amazing, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you
you're
so
welcome.
much.
Yeah, just enjoy it. If you want to paint in them, you want to rock them,
Skating them.
You want to keep them fresh and don't even wear it. You want to skate in it. You want to whatever you want to do.
I could go in
It's
my
all fine.
T-shirt archive and I don't mess it up. I have
Okay.
it. I like
okay.
this.
A lot of intent put into these, and
Love it. I could feel the vibe, man.
Yeah, man.
I could feel the vibe.
Here's your wrap.
First of all, Rodney Smith, thank
thank
you
you, bro.
so
Yeah,
much
thank you.
for
Thank
coming
you so
on
much,
the
man.
show.
Thank you, bro.
And this
Thank you,
won't-
Roger.
this is
Thank
not-
you, Roger.
Thank you, Rod.
Thank you, Rod. Big Rod. Yeti, keep your coffee, tea, whatever beverage you want,
Nice.
hot or cold even.
Quality. I will be using this. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
that's a great. I travel with this thing. I put this thing in my suitcase, Rod.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Should be your signature model.
Also, keep hydrated. Yeti does have a plastic now. You can see it. You can see what you're drinking and everything. It's lightweight also.
Love
what
it.
you're
Look at
drinking.
that,
Yeah,
man.
you see what you're
I
drinking.
love the little hold bevel in here, so you can. It's
nice, right?
Grip,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good grip.
But it's also lighter. So if you go on a hike, if you're walking around, it's a bit lighter than the metal.
Nice.
Stance 9 Club socks.
Need some socks,
We got to keep
man.
the tootsies warm
Love the socks.
when the dogs are barking.
Thank
You
very
know.
much. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna open this up because I want to show you
I want to see it.
what
might
we
as well.
got here, bro. 9 Club shirt. Look at this, Rod.
Nice.
How you like that design?
Nice.
man?
I
It
like
looks
that.
just like his sweatshirt.
Look at that. We got the
It is.
orange hit over here. Little
That's-
orange hit.
It's got a little pop color there.
You know what I'm
Gotta
saying?
Like that. Gotta like
That's
it.
from our new
I
little
am
collection right
psyched.
there. Right there. Then it does get cold wherever you're traveling.
Sure does.
We don't know where you're going to be next, Rod, but we got you. Keep warm
Nice.
with the crew neck.
Nice. The
Hoodie.
Navy crew neck.
We got the orange block in the
Dude,
back
wow,
too.
dude. I'm the Navy guy.
You're the
And
Navy
I'm-
guy?
And I'm the
Perfect.
orange guy.
Okay,
Look,
we nailed it.
my last office with Ecko was orange because it was in the basement.
Really?
Interesting. Crazy.
I love the orange, man.
Okay. Well, man, I
You're
hope
the first one to get it.
We're gonna rock these loud and proud. I hope you do the same with
I
our
am, man.
stuff.
I'm gonna wear this out. I'm gonna wear all this stuff out.
And Rodney, like I said, man, it's been an honor talking to you today.
Straight up,
And the door's always open, bro.
Thank you.
Please come back
I
and
will
talk
be
with
back.
us some more. Tell us
Absolutely.
some more stories.
Absolutely. We've got
Rod-
plenty of stories.
Rod, how many shirts are you wearing right now?
I think I got 6 shirts on.
You might as well see the breakdown.
What is breakdown? Go ahead.
Break it down.
We got the bones.
We got the POW.
Got the PAL
Right.
bones.
Big
Okay.
influence. Big influence.
Ooh.
Damn.
And
We got the Goaling Army.
Okay.
We got the goal wing.
I think Ben Schroeder even wrote it first.
Yes,
That's
he did.
a-
I think so.
All right. Got this. People
Well,
say,
it's like
"Where'd
an
you get that
applicator.
shirt?"
That's
I'm like,
sick.
"Sewed it on there."
That's an OG. He's got the on the raglan right there. Okay, we got another one.
These are
Got
all
the-
long
got the
sleeves.
top
dude.
graphic for
Shut
Jeremy
up.
Henderson.
Right.
There you
Let's
go.
get it.
Okay, these are you made. Okay, look, keep
I'm
going.
really happy that
He's
you-
taking off
you let me
another
do this,
shirt.
man. So stoked.
He's got that one.
Got
This
the
is
New
the,
York. This is one of my favorite New York shirts.
the
Amazing.
New York Spades.
I love that one.
Okay. Oh, he's got another. He's taking that one off too. I think we're getting down to
This is the one. This is the last.
got the
all
old
one.
That's right.
There we go.
Right. Got a very popular graphic that Mike V is.
Let's see.
So
Oh,
it's
yep,
used.
yep. The skull with the little
Yeah.
with the boards is the bones.
Love it.
What? Why all the shirts?
I was trying to be different. As always.
Yeah.
Never leaves the system when you're somebody who always wants to try to be different in somehow or another. But you know, make make the show look good.
I could
Yeah.
say
No,
that
that's
has
awesome,
not
dude.
happened.
Just by having you here, the show looks even better to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You guys are
love
great,
it,
man.
dude.
You guys are great. I'll be back tomorrow on that.
Hey, Rodney, come back tomorrow. Rodney, thank you so much, dude.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.